is here.
Check it out.
And you're locked on to Utah's highest rated, most listened to sports radio station.
It's my station. It's my station.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome in. Time to make the donuts. Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Happy Monday, everybody. Let's get to it. How are you?
Good. How you doing, Scotty?
I am great.
What do you know?
Not much. Just a general, I don't know much about anything, but...
What do you know? What do you say?
What do you say?
We'll fake it.
Lloyd, how about you? What do you know?
Is that what kids are saying now?
Yeah, what do you know?
I have no idea. I had one of my kids' friend goes, "What's good?" I'm like,
said that to you?
I'm like, I don't know everything. I don't know. What do you want me to say? What's good? Like, I don't know. I'm good.
The rib tips are excellent. Would you like some rib tips?
The percentage I got on my home interest rate,
yeah, like. I don't know, man.
The fact I was in the housing market before it got crazy, those are good things.
I'm locked in at 2.9%.
What do you want to know from me? There's a lot of good things.
What's good, man? I'm like, geez, man, talk to me normal. But no, good weekend. You had a good weekend?
Just boring. Yeah. I took in enough women's basketball to last me for a good 10, 20 years. But it was fun. I thought it was good, man. It was some good basketball. National championship play game last night.
We're all square on the Paradise.
Yeah, and I figured, but
I kind of thought the one I will respect women's basketball. They're not into the theatrics. They're not into going in and altering games, because if so, Caitlin Clark would have a national championship.
Yeah.
So that's one thing women's sports has over men. They're not going to get. They're not going to persuade their refs.
Not that far. I saw the crybabies on Twitter. It's happening. I was like, oh, come on, man. Just let women's sports be women's sports. Everybody's getting weird calls, and it all felt like it was a mess at times.
By the way, that was the right call.
Okay. Yeah,
I mean, you go back to the illegal, moving screen.
Yeah, it was a screen. It was a moving screen. There was no question that it was.
She was sliding.
Yeah, it was an illegal body usage for sure. But everybody's saying, well, you just don't call it in that moment. And it's like, well, yeah, there's some to that. But if it's that obvious, and you go back and watch the slow-mo, and it's like, wow, that was really obvious.
Yeah. No, that was a great call. Great call.
It takes guts to call it.
Yep. National championship game coming up tonight. Ken Pomeroy will join us coming up at 1:05 to preview that. Stewart Mandel will join us in the 2 o'clock hour, one of the better college football writers, to kind of break down this 80-team super conference that could be on the horizon in college athletics. So we got a lot on the plate, man. We got a lot to break down, and we are mercifully coming to the end of the Jazz season. Looked a little bit better last night.
Oh, man.
I don't know. Like, they didn't lose as badly as we've come to expect.
Yeah,
is that where we're at right now, taking little victories from?
Oh, I've got thoughts on that stuff, man. I got thoughts on that stuff. I don't know exactly where you want to start. I mean, this is one of those days where we could go women's championship or men's championship tonight or Jazz. I mean, there's just so much going on. But the Utah Jazz, they are as bad as build.
Yeah. Well, let's get to it. Starting lineup, Hans and Scotty. I think we can safely say this is the first time we're going to start the show with women's basketball. Let's kick it off.
This is Hans and Scotty G.
Let's go.
The line lineup is set, and it's time to kick off the show with the biggest topic of the day. This is the starting lineup on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It is perfection for South Carolina. 38 games, 38 wins, and their third national championship. South Carolina 87, Iowa 75. 2024 is absolutely perfect for Dawn Staley and South Carolina. They are the women's basketball national champions.
And I want to personally thank Caitlin Clark for lifting up our sport. She carried a heavy load for our sport, and it just is not going to stop here on the collegiate tour. But when she is the #1 pick in the WNBA draft, she's going to lift that league up as well. So Caitlin Clark, if you're out there, you are one of the GOATs of our games, and we appreciate you.
There's a lot to be proud of, but, there's going to be tears. It is sad that this is all over, and this is the last time I'm going to put on an Iowa jersey. So I think just reflecting back and soaking in everything that I was able to do, because basically anybody other than me and Coach Bluter never thought this was possible.
Starting lineup brought to you by Lee's Heating and Air, home of the award-winning line of America's standard furnaces and air conditioners. Call Lee's right now for a $59 furnace tune-up, or visit them online at leesheatac.com. Hands, fun run. Women's basketball has been on the forefront thanks to Caitlin Clark. But all that being said, it was not Iowa winning a national championship. It was not Iowa going undefeated. Somehow, with all the Caitlin Clark fanfare and excitement that we all got caught up in. I mean, she's a fantastic player, was fun to watch, brought eyeballs to the TV set. It's hard to believe that a team that went undefeated on the season was flying under the radar. Mm-hmm. But South Carolina was flying under the radar, underneath Angel Reese and LSU, certainly under Caitlin Clark and Iowa. And you saw Dawn Staley's South Carolina team just completely obliterate most of the competition they played this year.
Yeah.
An undefeated season, and in the end, pulling away and winning by double digits over, again, Caitlin Clark and Iowa.
Yeah, they brutalized teams. They beat them up badly.
Yeah, just big and strong.
So I was just looking for overnights, some of the initial thoughts. I found this one. It's a projection, ESPN projection. It says when the numbers come out today, which I have not seen the official numbers, and I think you've got better access to some of those maybe than I do, or know where to find them. It says Sunday's National Basketball Championship game between Iowa and South Carolina on ABC is expected to be the most watched women's basketball game all time. It's saying that the number could get close to 20 million.
Whew.
Iowa Uconn got to 14.2. So you did mention it coming in. This is the first time we've started the show with women's basketball. Might be the last time. Who knows? But this is very deserving. With what Caitlin Clark did in her time and every record that she blew up, and she blew up the all-time NCAA tournament scoring for a woman, where she put up more points than any woman has done in the tournament, and she did it in grand fashion. She blew by it. I don't know if it ever gets broken, because a lot of these scoring records had stood since the 70s and 80s.
Yeah,
and so it was really fun to watch Caitlin Clark do what she does so well, but then it was really obvious that Iowa does not have a complete team. South Carolina has a complete team.
yes.
And I've talked a lot about Stokey, and Stokey needed to have a really big game, and she finished with 3 rebounds. She could not pull down a rebound. And I kept thinking to myself, unless we see Stokey and O'Grady and some of these forwards for Iowa that could get in there and get themselves a rebound over some of these bigs, there wasn't a chance. And Cardoso just cleared the floor.
Yeah.
Pulled down 17 rebounds, got 7 offensive rebounds. And the biggest difference in this game was the 33 extra chance points that were pulled in and put up.
Yep. Just bigger and stronger, honestly. And I thought that was going to be a problem against LSU, but
I did too.
But it was South Carolina that was the one that really exposed Iowa.
I thought it would be LSU too.
Yeah.
And that's why going into that game, I was like, LSU's going to get Iowa.
Yeah.
But I figured at some point, one of these bigger, more physical teams would find a way, and they did it with Cardoso. South Carolina out-rebounded Iowa 51-29.
Oof.
51
but
to 29.
And to your point, the 33, was it 33 or 32 second chance points?
Yeah, 30 something.
Anyway,
yeah.
Low 30s. That's just going to kill you. I mean, that's absolutely going to kill you. When a team can get those many second chance opportunities off of offensive rebounds, you just don't stand a chance. You're just done.
One of the things that blew me away, too, here, I've got this box score here in front of me. This is what blew me away. You look at right here, just bench points, and if you add up all of the Iowa bench points, what do we have here?
0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and 0.
Okay, and then our South Carolina bench points would come to
37.
Yeah, well, 37-0 on bench points. You tell me you can't get a single point from a bench player on Iowa's squad?
Yeah.
Not one?
Yep. Like, I know Dawn Staley is a bit of a lightning rod with a lot of the things she says, but take away that and don't concern yourself with that right now. Just analyze a high-level women's basketball player who has transitioned into the coaching ranks and has built a team that is phenomenally great and then coaches the heck out of them from an X's and O's standpoint. And, I mean, she's got to be right there with one of the best coaches in all of women's basketball right now.
Has to be, yeah. I think there's, 4 coaches that have had 3 championships or more. So she's up there.
I mean,
with
you got
those.
Gino, you got Pat
Summit.
Pat Summit, and then I don't know who the other one.
Kim Mulkey.
Oh, Kim Mulkey. Yeah, there you go. And then, Dawn Staley's got to be right there.
I don't think there are many. So I do. And, I thought that she handled postgame really well. She actually grabbed the mic back to throw out those Caitlin Clark comments. And I think that needed to be stated because none of this happens without Caitlin Clark.
No, 100%. There's a Tiger Woods element to Caitlin Clark going on right now where you don't care who she's playing. You don't care where she's playing. It's just, I'm going to watch her play because it's just a phenomenal effort that she brings, and you see something really special every time she's on the court. And I thought it was interesting. Diana Taurasi, again, phenomenal basketball player, but
an all-timer. Yeah.
All-timer. She comes out with some really I don't want to say critical comments, but it's like, you're not getting away with that in the WNBA. You're in for a rude awakening. And I'm sure a lot of that's true, but I think it's funny how there's a lot of women's basketball players in the WNBA, both on the coaching and in the player standpoint, that are being uber critical of Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
And really coming at her and saying, oh, just you wait. You're not going to be anything special here. When in reality, you should be thanking Caitlin Clark because she's going to bring eyeballs to your sport. She's going to elevate your entire sport because people are going to care about it now way more than they did before.
Yeah, especially if she's hitting.
Especially if she hits.
If she's playing well, yeah.
You're like Tiger Woods made a lot of people a lot of money in the PGA Tour. Tiger Woods obviously made a ton of money, but he elevated everybody else's earning potential because everybody else got an extra piece of the pie when they would finish in a top 5 or a top 3 because the viewership went up, the sponsorships went up, all of that went up.
Most financially influential golfer in the history of golf.
100%.
Yeah.
Caitlin Clark could absolutely do that to the WNBA. So instead of, if you're an old player and you're like, I can't believe all the eyeballs on her, blah, 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 how about be like, hey, you know what? This is really good for us.
This could be really good for us.
This is good for us.
Yeah.
Now, you can say those things behind the scenes like, okay, we're going to knock her around a little bit and we're going to welcome her the hard way to the league.
Yeah.
But all it does is make you look like a villain and make you look like a disgruntled old codger when you talk trash about her.
It does. You're 1,000% right. There is, you can't win that. You can't win that battle.
Yeah.
And like you said, I'd be saying it undercover nonstop. I'd be like, oh, you wait till she gets in here. We are going to beat her up. Every time she goes to take a shot, there's going to be an athletic hand in her face, and it's going to be really miserable. We're going to make her life miserable when she's on the court. But to say it out loud, and it was interesting, some of the comments that came out from different women. There was one woman that holds the record for scoring, and she said it hasn't been beat because go check the size of the basketball and no three-point line. And, just everybody that came at Caitlin Clark. And what I would say is this is all good. It's all good because it brings eyeballs, it brings attention, it brought social media a presence, and so it brings everybody to the screen and everybody to Caitlin Clark. For Caitlin, if I'm Caitlin Clark, all I'm doing is sitting there and enjoying all of the noise.
Yes.
Because all the noise, whether it's these old codgers that are being ornery and upset, and back in my day, we shot with a men's basketball. We didn't have a three-point line, and we killed it, and you're like, wait a second, this girl is reconstructed the way everybody looks at women's basketball right now. It could absolutely end. She could go to the WNBA. I don't know. Maybe it's Jimmer level to the NBA. Maybe it's Caitlin to the WNBA. I don't know. Maybe her defense doesn't hold up and she gets torched and coaches can't put her on the court because she can't face guard. She can't deal with the speed of it or whatever. It might happen. But best case scenario is exactly what you're talking about. That's best case scenario. She goes in, averages 24 points a night, climbs it up to the 28, 30-point range, grabs a bunch of MVP honors, grabs the audience's attention, and brings them to the WNBA. That's best case scenario. Worst case scenario is she doesn't pan out and nobody continues to watch or care about the WNBA.
Yeah.
Because those are just the facts.
100%.
And, man, did she bring it to the women's college basketball circuit. Now, the great thing about this is, as Caitlin Clark brought all of our eyes to the TV sets, you had incredible talent around it. You had the Angel Reeses that you had this beautiful rivalry. And you've got the Cardosos and you've got South Carolina. Again, a beautiful rivalry because it was Iowa that knocked them out. They haven't lost since Iowa knocked them out of the quarterfinals last year. And so it was still a rivalry aspect with one of the best women's basketball players and one of the best up-and-coming and grabbing all the attention head coaches. And this is what we got. We got an incredible women's NCAA tournament that I don't know if we'll ever get it again.
No, because you're going to need characters like that again. You're going to need personalities. You're going to need storylines. And that's why it was so much better. I mean, that's why it was such a bigger storyline in terms of that than the men's, because, I mean, we got our dude from NC State, but other than that, we don't got a lot of great personalities. Edie is not a personality.
No.
That dude is.
No.
That dude's like Bull from Night Court.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't really.
Nothing.
He's not bringing anybody to the yard.
We're coming for Harry T. Stone.
Yeah.
We're coming for Dan.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like we're not there for Bull.
No.
We might even come for Ross. Ross was a better bailiff than Bull.
Yeah, for sure. Roz. Yeah.
Roz.
Yep.
But this is the crazy thing about South Carolina. They lose Cardoso. That's it.
Yeah, they'll have another one.
They got Kitts back. Johnson, who was incredible off the bench. They got Hall back. They've got their whole team's pretty much coming back. Now, Cardoso was the difference. If you take Cardoso off that roster, maybe Iowa has a chance. Maybe. But maybe even not, because South Carolina was just that good. But they're minus their 6'7" forward, and that's it.
Yeah.
So South Carolina probably – and it's like, okay, well, without Cardoso, because Cardoso I think is a draw. Without Cardoso, how much South Carolina basketball are you watching next year?
None.
Without Caitlin Clark, how much Iowa basketball are you watching?
0.
So, like you said, you got to have the Mike Tyson that comes out of nowhere. And it's like, who's this amateur boxer that just went 18-0? Oh, his first professional fight, it lasted 24 seconds? Who's this guy that's running through the heavyweight division that's an undersized heavyweight? And the next thing you know, Mike Tyson is the biggest draw in the world of boxing and probably had the most financial impact in the world of boxing of any boxer in the history.
Yep.
It's like, okay, well, Caitlin Clark just did it for women's basketball. Who's next?
You got to have somebody. You got to have somebody right there.
And if she doesn't work in the WNBA, then it's just business as usual.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's always a good day when we're hanging out in studio. It's always a better day when Dave's with us from America First Credit Union. How are you, sir?
Hey, Dave.
Hey, it's good to be with you guys.
Oh, what's new?
Well, a lot of exciting stuff over the weekend.
Scotty doesn't like the question.
He doesn't. It's like, what?
No, it's what's good.
Oh, it's what good.
What's good?
Yeah, what's good?
Well, that's my greeting to my boy. What's good, my man?
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
America First Credit Union. We've had a blast with this partnership, americafirst.com. Let's go back to the basics. What separates America First Credit Union from other financial institutions out there?
Well, Hans, as we just celebrated our 85th anniversary, it gives us time to reflect on our origins and our beginnings and the vision that our founding fathers had. We had 59 original members that established the credit union, and their whole focus was people helping people. They found that they wanted to do a better way of helping each other with their finances. It was neighbors, it was friends, it was families that got together and just said, there's got to be a better way. So they pooled their savings together. They made low-cost loans to each other. They paid each other back, and this system worked. And so that's the 85 years that we've built our legacy on, and that's what makes us different, is we hold true to that philosophy of people helping people. Every decision that we make, we consider, how is this going to impact the member? Is this good for them? And I love it. I love the products and services that we provide. I love the community impact that we provide. I love being just an integral part of every community where we do our business.
How much has it grown? How much have you watched it grow since you jumped on ship in the 90s?
Well, thanks for aging me. But yeah, I celebrated my 25th year.
Late 90s.
Late 90s. Hey, thank you. I appreciate that qualifier. Yeah, in the 25 years that I've been there, I've just seen this tremendous amount of growth. And I remember that we had probably 40-something branches, and now we're about 118 branches. We had 700-ish employees. Now we're at 3,300, and we've just expanded all along the Wasatch Front and into Nevada, Arizona, Idaho, New Mexico, and I've just seen this tremendous amount of growth. And it's because people gravitate towards good service, good products, good security, an organization that they can trust. And I love that. I love seeing that growth and having an impact on our employees and on the community and just the members and the lives. You know, when you say, Hans, that's my credit union or that's my branch. I love the ownership that our members have in America First.
And it is my credit union. America First Credit Union, you got the location in Saratoga Springs. That was my first location, but now you've opened up the city center there in Eagle Mountain. I hope that one's going well. I'm sure it is.
It is, yeah. It really is.
I'm sure that thing's rocking and rolling. And we got new openings that are coming, and they just continue to grow and do great things.
You're always about a 3-iron away from an America First Credit Union.
If you're a good golfer.
Yeah, 3-iron in a good stiff wind, because it is a little downhill.
Yeah.
So,
does it get windy out there in Eagle Mountain?
Oh, jeez. Oh, man. It's insane winds out in Eagle Mountain. I don't know if it ever gets not windy in Eagle Mountain. It's always windy.
Any tumbleweeds that go your way?
Oh, a few. You've seen them stack up.
Yeah. Well, again, America First Credit Union is where you need to go. I've got a car loan through them. Hans banks with them. It's just a first-class organization that's going to treat you right every step of the way. Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is DJ and PK.
Time to welcome Hans Olsen back to the show. I know with you guys love your food, you love your food analogies. So we're having you on to talk spring football. Now, spring football is to football as blank is to a meal. What is spring football? Because it's not the real deal.
It's a total meal replacement shake. And it's a bad mix. It's like a protein powder you order. You think you're going to like it because it says cookie and cream on it. You mix it a couple times and you're like, this tastes like cardboard. This is trash. It gives you the calories that you need. It's hard going down. Eventually you end up throwing the whole bottle out, but it's a meal replacement shake. I think that's the equivalent.
Catch DJ and PK mornings from 6 to 10. Presented by Murdoch Chevrolet. Proudly serving Utah since 1926. On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You're locked on to Hans Olsen and Scotty G. That's right. Yeah! on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
There's something wrong with the world today. I don't know what it is. Something's wrong with our eyes.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Caller number 12. Caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE. Hey, it is our You Win a Golf major giveaway. It is Masters Week, folks. Yeah. All you have to do is be caller number 12, 801-575-ZONE. You will be assigned a golfer, and if your golfer wins, you will win your player's brand of driver. So if he's hitting Callaway, you're going to win a Callaway driver. If he's, whatever you're looking at, you're going to get it.
That is a really fun thing, too.
I love it. I love that we do this.
Yeah.
We've been doing it for, 10 years now, Lloyd.
Yeah, it feels like every year of the show we've been doing it.
It's the bane of Lloyd's existence from putting it together. But, boy, it's a fun one to make it happen.
It's so much fun, man. I do love Masters Week. And, we just get done talking about Caitlin Clark, and you look up on the TV, and there's Tiger Woods on the practice green. And it's like, that's what it is. That's what it is. People get all bent out of shape about who's getting the coverage and who's getting the attention. And it's like, no, we don't dictate that. Media doesn't dictate that. The people, the viewers dictate that. And Tiger Woods is still the spectacle.
Yeah.
I understand what Tiger Woods is doing right now more than I understand who the top 5 golfers in the world are and what they might do this weekend.
Yep.
I'm still watching for Tiger Woods to make the cut. He would set the record. He's currently tied with the record, but he would set the record for most consecutive cuts in Masters history. Like, those are the stupid things that I shouldn't know, but I do because it's Tiger freaking Woods. It's just ridiculous. And the Masters come around, and it's like the Masters and Tiger are just synonymous.
Yes.
And the fact that he's still in it, just love it.
I used to, in fact, I remember, it's funny how when you get in this business, you remember your milestones. Like, I remember the first game I ever called. I remember, the first show you and I did at that fence place.
Yep.
Like, I remember these little milestone moments. I remember the first, this is prior to Twitter, but the first hate email I got where somebody just obliterated me.
Really?
And said, that was the worst take I've ever heard, blah, 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 and just came at me hard. And I remember being like, whoa. It was the first time. I'd never really received negative listener feedback of that magnitude before, where it got really personal. Now, every day, it doesn't bother me.
That's not coming every day. Do you remember what it was over?
Yes. So it was, and when you're new, you try to make these big, nasty opinions.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was really silly when we would see these old-time golfers like Arnold Palmer and these other guys that would get out there and slow down that first, because they'd won Masters and they get to play as long as they want. And it was just a celebratory round. But I'm like, come on, you're slowing down the play. You got guys out there trying to win this thing, and your old bones are out there slowing everything down. And everybody's, look at the old man with a 200-yard drive. How great is that? And it's like, what is this? What are we doing here? And so I went on and just blasted how dumb I thought this was. These old geezers were out on the course and just ruining it for everybody. And some dude just killed me on an email on that. Just blew me up. How dare you don't know anything about the sport. These guys can play as long as they want. And I'm like, that's stupid. Anyway, I will, when Tiger Woods is in his 70s, I will still watch. I don't care. I'll be in the old folks' home watching. Tiger Woods could be 85 years old, and I'll be 84 years old. And guess what? I'll still be glued to my TV set watching him every second he's out on any golf course, especially at Augusta.
Why is it?
I don't know, man.
Okay.
I don't know.
So I feel the same way about Mike Tyson stepping in the ring with the Paul kid.
I know.
I know what's going to happen in that fight. I know it. Like, I could write the script on it. He's going to gas out. He'll gas out, and he's going to take some punishment. He might deliver a shot or two. He's going to he's going to gas out. Now, it comes down. If Paul's got the knockout power, he'll put him down. If not, it'll go whatever it is scheduled for 8 rounds or whatever it's scheduled for.
It will be
miserable.
It'll be scripted in such a way that neither one will lose.
And Mike will push him into the corner, and then he'll get his win through whatever, self-respect and whatever win that he can find out of. Oh, man, in the second I caught you with that right hook, I almost had you.
Yeah.
And then Paul will get the victory, probably a little bit of a payoff to Mike Tyson, whatever it is. You know what's going to happen, but still I'm going to watch Mike.
Yeah. He must.
And how stupid is that for me?
I know. Dude's what? Almost 60. And we're all like, ooh.
He'll be 58 when he fights.
Yeah.
I think it's 58. I think it's 57, but I think it's 58 when this fight actually goes down. And Tiger Woods is 48. I mean, he's 48 years old. And here we are. We're like, well, the Tiger Woods at the Masters. Could it be a 2019 miracle remake? Because when he won in 2019, I was shocked, floored. I still hold it up as one of the top 5 athletic performances that I've ever watched in my life.
Hey, look, Phil's got himself a Masters at plus 50, right? Was it the Masters that he won, or?
No, I think it was the Open.
Was it the the Open? Okay.
I think it was the Open.
But he did it plus 50.
But did Jack win one? Lloyd, did Jack get a Masters close to 50? Like, I know Phil won. I'm pretty sure it was the Open. I don't think it was the Masters. But still, the guy knows his way around that course better than anybody.
Yeah.
Watching him navigate that course, he knows every nook and every cranny of that course. By the way, it hasn't been.
Yeah, it was the PGA Championship in 21 that Phil won.
Okay.
And he did it at 51 years old.
That's huge. And that's incredible. 51.
Yeah.
And he won one of the top primary events in all of golfing. Yeah, I am excited about the Masters. For some reason, I don't know. Maybe I'm not playing it as much. I don't even play an eighth of the golf that I used to.
Why do you think that is?
Well, this is my personal opinion. I feel like COVID screwed everything up. Now, I think COVID made everything better for the golf world.
Yeah.
It just made everything worse for me.
Because more people are playing.
Yeah, the courses are jam-packed. They're hacked up. The tee sheets are just solid, and it just hasn't been as fun for me. And I got to this point where, I'm hitting like an 83, 84 pretty consistently, and that was it. It's like, okay, well, what's my goals?
You had the 279s, right?
I did. Yeah. Yeah. And those were like 6, 7, 8 years ago. I think I had one when we were doing the show and one just before. And other than that, it's like, that's it. So I don't know. How much time do you spend on a sport that you're not getting any better at? And you're going out there I went out on a country club here in the state, and the guy that took me to this country club, he brought like his 12 or 13-year-old son, and the 12 or 13-year-old diced me up. And I was like,
what do we do?
He's out driving me, and I'm like, and they're like, oh, that's pretty bad for an old NFL guy, huh? 12-year-olds out driving you, and you're just like,
all right, we're done here. Yeah.
Y'all suck. So does the sport. I'm out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I need to find that love and passion for it again, because when you're out there and you're on the fairways and you're on the cart and you're taking in the scenes and you hit one lucky shot in a round and you're like, oh, see, I could do it like Tiger Woods does.
Tell you what, there are very few things, and you know that, like this summer, like I'm recommitting myself to golf.
Yeah.
Like I haven't, I fell away quite a bit over the last several years. This summer, it's like, okay, you know what?
Get into it.
I'm gonna get back into it. I'm recommitting to the game. In fact, I told you off the air some of the things I'm actually even doing to make sure that I play a little bit more golf.
Yeah.
And
that'll be fun.
Yeah, But there are very few things cooler than that 7:15 tee time, and the course is kind of quiet, and you have that morning sun coming up, and it's a little dewy. Like that's awesome.
It is.
It's awesome. But to me, the Augusta, it's more than just. This is why I'm not big like Sunday afternoon waste management, fire up golf with nobody that I know that's playing. I'm not really that guy. But Augusta, I don't need Tiger to be playing well to watch it. It's just because Augusta and the Masters is a personality of itself. Amen Corner, everything that comes along with it. That is, we talk about Tiger Woods and Caitlin Clark and all these personalities that are storyline. To me, that golf course is the personality and how beautiful it is and how well manicured it is and how it's set up.
It's the show.
It's the show.
It's the Caitlin Clark.
Yes. It's the Tiger Woods.
Yeah, it's the Mike Tyson. You're 1,000% right. It's that course.
Yeah.
1,000%. But it does, when it's got a great contender, a guy that's beating its butt.
Yeah.
That's the draw.
Yep.
It's like, okay, I've got this. I've got the number one. I've got the ultimate. Now, who can give it a match? And Tiger Woods has given it multiple matches. I just looked it up. Jack Nicklaus, he's the oldest to ever win the Masters. And he's just he was just younger than what Tiger is right now. 46 years, 2 months, and 24 days. Tiger's the second oldest in his win in 2019 when he was 43. 43, 3 months, and 15 days. The second oldest to do it at the Masters. So if Tiger could even find a way to compete, we'd all be locked in. But the problem is Tiger has not really been able to find a way to compete since the car accident.
Yeah.
That car accident really jacked him up.
Well, I mean, and then Elin with the 9-iron.
Elin with the 9-iron was the first hammer to drop. That I think really threw him off his ability to catch Jack Nicklaus and his major success. But this car accident, so it left him with terrible arthritis in his ankle and his foot. He just recently had a surgery to try to alleviate some of that pain that he's dealing with in that ankle and that foot. But he has not really been able to compete. His last top 20 finish on the tour was a tie for 9th back in 2020. That's his last top 20 finish, was at the Farmer Insurance event in 2020. He has finished outside the top 20 in 14 consecutive tour starts.
Yeah.
And really, since the accident, he's not really finishing. Even when he made the cut in this last Masters, I don't think he finished that round. If I remember right. Did he? I know he made the cut. Lloyd, did he finish the round last year? Tiger at the Masters? I know he made the cut.
I think he made the cut, and I think he shut it down after that. I think you're right. Yeah.
So he's not even really able to complete the events, but
don't care.
It'd be something to see him make the cut this year.
Make the cut. I'll be watching. 12:48. Hans and Scotty Jazz with another loss. We'll talk about it next. What you may have missed straight ahead. Hans and Scotty. And then Ken Pomeroy will join us at 1:05. We'll break down the national championship game, a game you will hear right here on The Zone coming up tonight as we've had your exclusive home of the NCAA tournament right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
You think there would be any difficulty adding 2 more professional sports teams here locally?
Yes.
And getting the support?
Yes. Difficulty? Sure. Absolutely.
Do you think it'd be impossible?
No.
You think we could bring in 2 major franchises and have them both survive?
If the leagues individually choose Salt Lake City, it's because they're betting on our future, not the present. I think we'd sell tickets to these things right away. I think sponsorships, I'm not saying sponsorships for the Jazz are a tough sell or that they're struggling or by any means. They're hustling to find every nickel that's not nailed down. It's not like this market is just swimming in dough. But we've got some expanding economic sectors. Population is expanding here. Our education around here is pretty good. Our teachers are really good. Our universities are really good. And this is a great place to live. And so if we got 2 new major league franchises right out of the gate, it'd be probably tough sledding for a few years. But the idea is that they're betting on the future.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Looking for the latest on the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, and Aggies? Yeah! We've got you covered. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the Sports Zone.
Ooh, maybe keep that one to yourself. Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
We were just talking about the eclipse.
Yes.
And the time that we've spent in interest of it. I'm seeing the videos come from Chile. I guess we just had our greatest eclipse moment at like 12:30 something today. So I hope everybody has enjoyed their... It seems like it's becoming like a monthly thing.
By the way, the way you say Chile, let's use that on the sopapilla. The way you say Chile.
Chile?
Yes,
Chile.
Sopapilla.
The images are pretty cool. So what happens is the moon goes right in front of the sun. That's your eclipse. I'd say the next big
Was
event...
it a total eclipse of the heart?
Yeah, Lloyd, you've missed an opportunity today.
Yeah, Hans Nye, the science guy over here.
The next, big event that I'm waiting for is Halley's Comet. I remember
Halley's Comet coming around. I remember when we were in elementary school in the 80s. That was a big deal.
So we'll be in our 70s.
Okay, never mind that.
You and I will be in our 70s.
I'm looking forward to that.
So we got some time. But yeah, we were elementary school, and the thing I remember very well, we went out, we were on the West First home in Weiser, and Dad took us out onto the side yard because my dad was really excited about it. And I don't know how you remember it, but it was way underwhelming.
Oh, yeah. No, I actually got a telescope for Christmas.
Did you really?
That was specially
to watch Halley's Comet? And so I had my little gadget set up, and I was like, all right, this is me. So, and I'm looking it's a dot. What is this? Well, apparently, when it came in whatever it was, the 20s, there was all these journal entries of it lit the sky up as bright as day. So when people were expecting it to come through in the 80s, they're like, oh man, this thing is going to blow up the sky. This is going to be the most incredible event. And it was like, is that a satellite or I think that's Halley's. So I'm hoping that Halley's Comet has regenerated some power as it moves through our sky in our 70s. But as far as the eclipses, I don't even care enough to try to move out of my chair for
boring.
I know there's people out there that love it because we just had an eclipse. What was that?
That was 2 years ago, right?
It was a couple years ago. And
everybody lost their mind over.
Weiser, Idaho happened to be right in the primary path. And my parents were renting out parts of their land, and people were coming in with their RVs. Weiser went to 68,000 people for the eclipse event.
The hell?
I'm not even kidding you, because it was right in the path. So
we went up to our cabin when it was going on. We went up there and watched it from, and there was people all over the place.
Honk.
Yeah, honk
I was at my cabin. I was enjoying my cabin.
Our cabin.
You've got to start honking yourself, Lloyd.
Yeah.
Because you do mention that cabin a lot.
I get one stationary bike, and I don't hear the end of it, but Lloyd's over there with his back 40 estate with his cabin.
You flaunt, you put your stationary bike, and let's not call it a stationary bike. Let's say what it is.
It's a stationary bike.
It's a Peloton.
Wait, so are you going to your New York penthouse for this one?
Yeah, Lloyd, where you go?
Nope.
What other land or real estate do you have?
I'm working. I'm here working.
So I watched the eclipse from my New York penthouse in the Trump Tower.
72nd floor with a beautiful view of Central Park.
Dave Nellis with America First Credit Union. He's hanging out with this. What is this a picture of?
That's a picture of my work group up at America First. We somehow, this was back in 2017. So that's 6.5 years ago.
Was it really that long ago? Wow.
Well, that was when we had the big one.
Yeah.
And there's just a text group going on where we're just kind of reminiscing and how fun that was. But what I remember was, one, how goofy we all looked with our heads to the skies with our glasses on.
Yeah.
But two, the temperature change. It dropped and it got chilly. I was really surprised at how cold it got.
It really did?
It did, yeah.
Why do I not remember that event? So how...
August of 2017.
How much of the sun was covered here in Utah? Because it wasn't a full eclipse, was it?
It wasn't full, but it was.
It was pretty close.
It was, yeah.
Did you go out?
He's right. You felt the temperature drop.
Really?
Like it plummeted.
Well, that's because you were at 8,000 feet in your cabin.
Yeah. Did you? It's because you were standing in the river that runs right behind your cabin.
True.
Did you go see any of it today at the 12:30 mark when it was supposed to be big out here?
No, my sister though, she sent me a picture. She's in Texas, and she sent me a picture, and it's like
that's right in the path.
It's right in the path. Yeah.
Yeah, good. We were just talking about Lloyd's Cabins and his penthouse. You need a good mortgage, and you need a good interest rate on those.
Yeah. I need a good friend too, like Lloyd.
I know we all need that. Where are we right now with interest rates and purchasing?
It's a tricky market for sure. You know, the feds have increased rates, and you know they do that because they want to kind of put a squash on inflation, and so rates have been high. And we went on about 2 decades where rates were really low, and that was a great time to buy. And so as we've seen these rates climb and climb and climb, it gets a little bit tricky, and that has an impact on inventory. So we're hoping to see the feds bring those rates back down a little bit, making it easier for consumers to get into a home.
But we do have some inventory available, so you could get into a home now. You could find a house that maybe fits you better, you and your family better.
Yep. And we've got a promotion on right now. The promotion is titled Buy Now, Refinance Later. Mm-hmm. And that's to encourage people to don't wait, don't delay. If you find that house that you want, then go for it. I like to say...
it's a great line.
Buy that or marry the house, but date the rate.
Yeah.
Date the rate because rates will change. And so if you find that house, you got your hands on that inventory, buy it.
And you make it easy on people. Like, okay, when you want to refinance, we're going to be here for you, and we'll get this squared away real quickly.
Yeah. Now through August, if you go and get your first mortgage and then rates go down and you want to refinance that, then we will waive the application fees, the closing costs for that. Mm-hmm. Up through August, and so it's got to be funded. But we want to make sure that we're helping you get into your home right now, and so buy now but refinance later.
We're going to talk about what those rates do to CDs and investment options maybe a little bit later, because when those rates are high, some of the investment options or the saving options are even better.
Oh yeah, interest can either work against you or it can work for you, and so we love to be able to investigate and see how those things impact us.
Hans and Scotty, that's America First Credit Union, always there to help you out with whatever you may need. America First Credit Union. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Number one. Miss any part of the show? Every moment of every show is available in podcast form by searching Hans and Scotty on your favorite podcasting platform or online at KSLSports.com. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Turn around. Every now and then I get a little bit lonely and you're never coming around. Turn around. Every now and then I get a little bit tired of listening to the sound of my tears. Turn around. Every now
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Purdue and Uconn, toe-to-toe tonight.
Well, you've seen this Purdue team up close and personal. They are the team that knocked out the Utah State Aggies, and they did in grand fashion. I mean, it is very dominant.
Yep.
And you said you came back to the show on...
2 weeks ago today.
Was it Monday?
Yeah.
That you were back?
Yep.
And you said, Hans, I wouldn't be surprised to see this Purdue team win it all.
No, and it wasn't, I mean, obviously they're crazy talented and they've got the, the player of the year in Edey, but if they get friendly calls, if Edey is living at the free throw line, which he has throughout the majority of the tournament, UConn's the only team that can beat them. And UConn is a juggernaut all by themselves. And just the way that they play, just the veracity in which they play, and just coming at you over and over and over again. And eventually you're going to break. And look, these are the two best teams, bottom line. And it's not even close.
No, it's It is not.
This is what you want.
Remotely.
We all love upsets. We all love the drama of March Madness. We love the 12-5 and, the team coming out of nowhere. But at the end of the day, you want the two best teams in college basketball playing for a title, and that's what we have tonight.
Okay, well, let me give you just a couple of points of dominance in what we're seeing tonight. These two teams being the most dominant teams. So, Scotty, these two teams' average margin of victory in their playoff or in their tournament games, 22.3 points.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, so listen to this. So Purdue has won by an average of 19.6 points per game through the tournament. Uconn has 5 games so far through the tournament.
Yeah.
A total combined of 125-point victory margin. 125-point victory margin, which is a record. That's a record. And if they were to beat Purdue by like a 10 or 12-point margin, it would set the all-time NCAA tournament record for the distance between you and your opponent.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
That is absolutely nuts.
5 games, 125 combined point differential. So here's the difference, though. So UConn has the best big man defender in all of college basketball in Donovan Clingan. He's 7'2".
Yep.
And he is very sturdy, and he is very confident. But still, it goes to what your point, Scotty, because 7'2", what is Edie 7'5"?
7'5", yeah.
7'5".
And by the way, did you see the video of Shaq going up and talking to him?
Yes, I did.
And look, Shaq is not svelte these days. Shaq is put on some LBs, and obviously we know how tall he is. And Edie still looked like a giant compared to him.
I was shocked. I couldn't believe it.
And it wasn't...
When people stand next to Shaq, not only do they look short, they look scrawny.
Yes.
This guy did not look scrawny.
And that's what I kept saying to people, that TV does not do Edie justice on just how big he is. And he's not just tall. He's just grown man, thick, strong dude, man. And it's just, whew.
Is there any chance we get a good game tonight?
I sure hope so. I mean, honestly, I could see UConn winning this game by double digits. I mean, that's just how special this team is. They're just so ridiculously good and talented. And again, with how they play the game, but it'll be interesting.
It would be if UConn could do it, that would be the first repeat championship since Florida did it in 2006 and 2007.
Yeah.
We haven't seen a repeat champion since 2006, 2007.
But I do think Clingan will present the biggest challenge that Edie's faced this year. In this tournament at least.
Because I think he can defend without being bullied.
Yep.
And having to foul.
And he'll have the size, he has the strength to be able to at least match up with him and not allow. Now, look, Edie's still going to get his 25 and 15. He's going to get his crazy numbers because he's just that good. But he will have a post presence against him that he hasn't seen in this tournament.
It'd be a good one for UConn. And UConn was dominant last year in their run, and they've just been more dominant this year in what they've done. And sitting at 36-3 and finding the success that they found so far through this tournament, I'm with you. I would be shocked if it wasn't an 8 to 12-point win, but maybe Edie can keep it close. Maybe he can single-handedly push Purdue through some of the breaking points that UConn sets up because they're just so fast. There's just not really an area that I have found that UConn falls flat in. They can hit you with so many different things.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, joining us now. Put together KenPom.com, one of the best dudes in the business. And again, Ken Pomeroy joining us. Ken, how are you?
I'm doing great, guys. Always lovely to chat with you, and really looking forward to the game tonight.
Really fired up. Is Clingan the best matchup that Edie will have faced in the post this NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that. Yeah, I mean, Clingan is just he's a defensive force, first of all, and that's really kind of what matters here. Great rim protector, not too foul prone. It's kind of interesting, this matchup. Neither of these guys have ever fouled out of a college basketball game. So If either of these guys gets in foul trouble, it'll be a huge surprise. So it will be a challenge here for Mr. Edey for sure.
So Ken, I got to give you a heads up because Scotty and I, we actually used your name to leverage a relationship.
Oh yeah, we did. Sorry about that.
And I'm going to tell you right now, Scotty, and I don't know, maybe you would agree with me on this. So Scotty and I were talking with the new Utah State head coach, Coach Calhoun, and he was talking about you. And because he's analytic driven, and Scotty goes, well, we might be able to, I can't remember, putting a meeting together.
Yeah, we might be able to contact. And he looks at us like, do you guys know Ken? I'm like,
Saucer.
do we know Ken?
Saucer plate eyes. He was like, you guys, and Scotty's like, yeah, he lives here in Utah. He does. So you're probably going to be getting a call from Coach Calhoun at some point.
Well, that's exciting. I thought you guys might ask me about the hire, and I know of his work. I don't know a lot about the gentleman, but now I'm a fan. Now I love the hire. So,
well, he's a big time analytic guy, and he's a big fan of yours. So, anyway, so anytime we can leverage the great Ken Pomeroy to develop a relationship, we're probably going to do it. But
I do it quite often. Your name wields a very large sword.
Hey, so overall, though, how do you see this game playing out tonight? Because, look, at the end of the day, we don't have a dog in this fight. We just want good basketball. Do you anticipate that Purdue can hang with this juggernaut that UConn's building right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's just been an incredible run for UConn. It's hard to envision a scenario where they have a close game just because they haven't had a close game in 11 straight tournament games. But if any team is going to do it, it's going to be Purdue. And Purdue does have some advantages. Like, they are a better 3-point shooting team. They are a slightly better rebounding team. They don't commit turnovers. So there's some things they do really well. It's just that UConn is so good offensively, namely scoring at the rim. Like, they're just very good at that. Edey himself, I mean, obviously he's a presence, and he's going to be a presence in this game, and that will have an impact on UConn. But he's not really an assertive rim protector. That's part of the reason why he's not foul prone, is he really doesn't, aggressively swat shots unless he needs to. So I think it will be a compelling game. I don't, it might go the way that the UConn Alabama game did, where it was a compelling game for 30, 35 minutes, and then, UConn kind of pulls away at the end. I don't see this being a lopsided game at halftime. I think it will be compelling for a while. And if, maybe Purdue can, if they're especially hot from 3-point land, this is a game that could come down to the wire.
I was trying to evaluate an area where UConn has any type of significant weakness, or at least observable weakness, that Purdue could potentially take advantage of. If UConn were weak in an area, Ken, what would that area even be?
Yeah, I mean, that's their secret. That's why they've been so good. That's why they've been one of the most dominant tournament teams that really we've ever seen. The one area, though, I will say is that they are not clinging himself necessarily, but they are a little bit foul prone. And Purdue is great at getting to the free throw line. So that's one area where Purdue does have an advantage. They should get to the line significantly more than UConn does. And as I said, Purdue's a better 3-point shooting team as well. So depending how UConn wants to defend Edey, if they're going to help off of shooters and double Edey, which most teams have not done in this tournament, but if they choose to do that, Purdue will make them pay, or can make them pay, from the 3-point line. So, I mean, those are the two areas to watch for. Both these teams are really skilled offensively. This should be just a really fun game to watch. I mean, this is one of the most highly anticipated national championship games on the men's side that I can really remember. There's some recency bias there, I'm sure, but I mean, you got the two best teams in college basketball. You got these two kind of elite 7-footers matching up on each other. These two teams are playing, their best basketball of the year. So it really should be a great game.
So what has Dan Hurley been able to do to really just allow UConn to build this juggernaut of a team that they're on right now? I mean, obviously talent is going to be supreme, but is there some kind of secret sauce that he's put together that's really created a culture in which UConn is just not just beating teams, just dominating teams?
Yeah, it's phenomenal, Scotty. It's hard to explain. I think, first of all, he is I'm going to go overboard, but I mean, he's an elite offensive coach. He's proved that the last 2 years, and he's been able to find the talent to match. And you just got to give him a lot of credit for finding the talent. Like Donovan Clingan was not a 5-star guy out of high school, but he's turned out to be one of the best basketball. Tristan Newton, transfer from East Carolina, who was really good at East Carolina, but he wasn't like, this game-changing transfer. That's not what people thought when he came to UConn. Cam Spencer coming over from Rutgers, kind of the same deal. Like he's filling just this perfect role for UConn. Is really an elite 3-point shooter, and he can just play off, kind of the other 4 guys on the floor. Alex Caravan, another guy, not a 5-star recruit, but has turned out to be a really outstanding college basketball player. Stephon Castle was a 5-star recruit and has been really one of the best freshmen in the country, notably for his defensive skill. I mean, he's a wing who has, kind of the athleticism and prototypical NBA body. And, he's a guy that you maybe project as more of a scorer in the NBA, but really what he brings to UConn is just an elite defensive mentality, which is something you don't see from a freshman very often. So, we'll see what this looks like 5 years from now. I mean, maybe UConn crashes and burns as a program, but this 2-year run has been incredible. And, there really hasn't been anything like it in the last 20 years in college basketball.
So, we've been watching a little bit of a coaching carousel move around, and right here in the state has been interesting with Coach Sprinkle and his movement. But I actually wanted to get just a few more thoughts from you on what you know of Coach Calhoun's work and what Utah State did just hire.
Right. So, yeah, as I said, I've been a fan of his work just because I think people, obviously people don't realize, people probably haven't, they're not familiar with like what Youngstown State has done under his watch. Youngstown State had really zero basketball tradition when he showed up there 7 years ago. And he's built something where, they were the best or among the best teams in the Horizon League the last couple of years. They obviously didn't get the job done in their conference tournament, so they didn't get to the NCAA tournament. And so that kind of kept him under the radar. But to me, it's a really impressive hire. And obviously, you're going to look at guys who have success in the NCAA tournament, and that might be your first choice. But really, like, Jared Calhoun just kind of steadily built that program year after year after year. They got just a little bit better every year. And, he got them to the point where they were the best team in their league. And again, at a place where that had really never happened. So I think when you add all those factors up, this wasn't a fluke, what he did. And it's, it's the formula that's worked for Utah State for hiring coaches. And so, you might as well go to that well again. Like it's worked, and this should work. Again, I'm not one of these guys that's like every time somebody hires a coach, I'm like, hey, that's a home run hire or whatever. Like sometimes these things don't work out, and there's no guarantee that this will work out. But I do think, based on the information we have right now, this was an excellent choice.
So, again, I'm asking you to be a little subjective here, and I know that's not your world. You're all about the numbers and the computer rankings and stuff like that, but this is my opinion. You can tell me if I'm totally off base on this. I've never been of the belief that John Calipari is actually a great X's and O's coaches. I think he goes out and he recruits really well. He brings in really great talent and can sometimes overwhelm you with that talent. What do you think of the move to Arkansas, and how much better does he improve that program?
I think that's a fair assessment of John Calipari. He's kind of the opposite a little bit of Dan Hurley, where, UConn doesn't seem like they have overwhelming talent, but somehow the parts all fit together and he gets the most out of the talent. Whereas with John Calipari, he's had to win. When he's won big, it's been with like easily the best talent. And when he hasn't had the best talent, you could argue they underachieve or whatever, but he never really seems to overachieve with the talent that he has. As far as the move goes, I mean, it makes sense on the level that, his time at Kentucky had kind of, he kind of worn out his welcome to some extent. Obviously, the standard there is enormously high. And, if you go a decade without getting to a Final Four, like you're just not going to last. And the only reason he could last was because Kentucky kind of, stupidly signed him to a lifetime contract.
Yeah.
They, would have had to have spent a lot of money to get out of. And so John Calipari is really doing them a favor by kind of voluntarily taking a different job. And, Arkansas is probably a good fit for him. The expectations there are not, make a Final Four every other year. They do have high expectations, but it's a, program with a lot of resources. potentially a lot of NIL money. He should be able to recruit just as well there as he did at Kentucky. The question is, can he, supplement those recruits with quality transfers? Because that was really the weakness at Kentucky and why he couldn't break through here the last few years.
So these are the dominoes. So you got Musselman that goes to USC. You got Calipari to Kentucky. Well, now what happens with Kentucky? Who do you fill that spot with?
Right. That is going to be a fascinating thing to track here over the next few days. I guess the big name out there right now is Nate Oates at Alabama. I don't know if Nate Oates has got a great situation at Alabama. We talk about expectations. I mean, he can coach, first of all, the first, 6 weeks of the season. Nobody cares about basketball at Alabama. So, that's a nice little, pressure-free start to the season. And really whatever, as long as the football program's winning, whatever the basketball program does is kind of a bonus. So I don't know if Nate Oates would want that job. We'll find out. People have talked about Danny Hurley. I can't see him leaving UConn. I mean, especially if he wins tonight. Why would you want to go to Kentucky? You just won back-to-back national titles. You can clearly win whatever you want at UConn. Scott Drew at Baylor is a guy who's been kind of widely rumored to be a successor for Calipari whenever that happens. Again, Scott Drew kind of seems like a lifer at Baylor. I mean, I realize we always kind of, overrate loyalty in the coaching profession. And so maybe one of those guys will bail and see some attraction to Kentucky. But those are the three guys. And then after that, it gets a little more murky, I think. But they're definitely going to take a big swing at those guys. Billy Donovan's another name that's come up. And I could actually see that happening. Things aren't going great in Chicago. And so, if he wants to get back in the college game, I could see him going to Kentucky, obviously, and trying to win a title there.
I watching Edie in person when they played Utah State, it just and I keep telling Hans this, and I've said on the radio a bunch, like TV doesn't do him justice, his size, and I think people saw that a little bit more when they saw the side by side with him hugging Shaq after the game and just seeing how he's just so much bigger than Shaq, and Shaq isn't svelte by any means these days. And so when you see that size and you see that strength and that soft touch around the rim, you're thinking, oh, he's going to be a great pro, but he's not overly athletic. He doesn't run the court like a gazelle by any measure. And again, I'm asking you to be a little subjective here, but when you look at him taking that step to the next level, how do you see him as a pro?
Yeah, it's a real challenge. I mean, I think the issue is entirely on the defensive end. What can he do there? He moves really well for a guy of his size. Like, you will see him occasionally have to, hedge ball screens or whatever, and he's like competent at that at the college level. He probably won't be competent at that at the NBA level, and it's hard to succeed with a guy playing a one-man zone, which you saw a lot against NC State, kind of him play that way, because NC State didn't have a post player who really could, hurt you from the perimeter. But you don't have those situations at the NBA level. So I think offensively it can work. You got to get the right personnel around him. You have to say four people that can space the floor. And if you can do that, like, his role at the NBA level can be pretty similar to what it is at the college level. Like, he can draw fouls and he can convert, if he gets on the block and gets the ball there, like, he can, he doesn't even need to get totally to the rim to be able to convert efficiently. But defensively is really the question mark. And that's going to be what, NBA talent evaluators will be, really obsessing over here over the next few weeks.
Hey, Ken, is this the best predictive year in KenPom.com history?
You got number one and number two going at it tonight.
You nailed it, Ken.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's that's more a statement about just, it is rare for one to play two, right? Like, the tournament is usually unpredictable, and it's really hard to get these matchups. And that's why I say this is really one of the most anticipated matchups we've had in a long time, because it's rare where the two best teams face off against each other, especially with, certainly Zach Edey, maybe the most famous guy on the men's side in college basketball. So it actually has been kind of bizarrely predictable. Certainly when you go back to the preseason ratings, I look back at those and it's been a year that largely there haven't been a ton of surprises, which in itself is surprising given how much, player movement there is in the modern game.
Well, Ken, we appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with us. Enjoy the game tonight, and maybe we'll check in with you a little bit closer to the draft and get some thoughts on some of these college players making the jump to the next level, and maybe what the Jazz should be or could be looking at as well. But we appreciate your time as always. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Ken.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
You got it. Ken Pomeroy. Go to kenpom.com, and he nailed it. Oh. His numbers nailed it. Number 1 versus number 2 tonight.
I can't even believe it. He had 14 of the Sweet 16 in his top 16, and the other 2, one was just outside, and one was like 21 or something. He's nailed the numbers, and it's just been a strangely predictive year. But KenPom.com, anything that you want in terms of college basketball numbers, just the pure stats, the pure facts of the game. Nobody does it better than Ken.
Nope. And nobody does it better when it comes to your finances and your institution to manage your money than America First Credit Union. Dave's hanging out with us as well. How you doing, Dave?
Well, I feel like DaveBomb.com. I don't know.
Dave Bomb.
Yeah. Who needs a name like that? Ken Pom. That's awesome.
Yeah, he's the best.
Yeah, that's great.
I want to talk about some of your partnerships, because when you partner with a different team or entity, then people stand to gain. And, this partnership that you've got with the Bees, and the Bees just knocking their season out of the park and getting going, there are great things. There's some value when you are a part of America First Credit Union that you can find at these ballparks or basketball arenas.
Yeah, these partnerships are so essential to these teams and to the community. The owners can't do it by themselves, and the players and the organization can't do it by themselves. They seek out good, solid partners that will support them, that helps run the business, run the show, and it helps with the operations. And so it's much more than just putting your name behind them or putting your name on a jersey or a billboard or a stadium. It truly is a partnership, and we seek those organizations that have the same kinds of values that we do.
So when I first started up with America First Credit Union 14 or 15 years ago, I knew that there was a real presence with the sporting events and the sporting world, but I didn't really know the depth of it until we signed up on an on-air partnership. And now it's like, geez, this is a no-brainer for me to be a member of America First Credit Union, because it is sport. It is tied into sport. You're getting so much value. For instance, you get discounts on apparel. You get discounts on tickets. You can find free parking at these RSL events. Like, there are things that you get when you're a member of America First Credit Union with these sporting events.
Yeah, and when you think about those sporting events, there's a lot of great organizations and teams, and that's where families go, that's where friends go, that's where we celebrate, that's where we go to recreate, and so we want to be a part of that. And we love working with these organizations because we can give back to the community. We can give back to our membership. There's great deals. With the Bees, you can go there and get discounts on your tickets. You can go get discount on concessions. You can go get discount on apparel. And that's one way that we show that partnership wants to give back and benefit the community. And so we're all about that. And if there's service opportunities as well, we've had members of these organizations come and do food bank drives and shoe drives. And it's just amazing to see a collaborative effort. It's not just sports, but it really is truly giving back to the community.
All you have to do is go to AmericaFirst.com. One thing I wanted to point out, Dave, real quick, and I know we've got to wrap up here a little bit, but there's a lot of intimidation when it comes to, like, people have been with their financial institutions sometimes for decades, and they're not happy, or it's a big operation, but they've got their direct deposits and their bill pays and all this other stuff, and they're like, I want to switch. I want to go to America First. I want to be a part of what's building there for my day-to-day banking needs. But I don't know if I don't want to bill to fall through the crack. I don't want to miss a direct deposit. You guys can help make that a real seamless process, correct?
We can. Yeah, there's a lot of people in that same boat that just have that fear of changing because it takes a little bit of time. But we make it seamless. We help you. We ask you the questions of, your direct deposit or what bills do you have. We educate you about our online services, our mobile banking, and really help you through that process to get it set up so that you can have a good experience. So give us a try. Go to AmericaFirst.com, come into one of our branches, try us out. We'll help you have a better experience.
Let's do it. America First, right here on 97.5, the EKSL Sports Zone.
This is DJ and PK.
Time to welcome Hans Olsen back to the show. I know with you guys love your food, you love your food analogies. So we're having you on to talk spring football. Now, spring football is to football as blank is to a meal. What is spring football? Because it's not the real deal.
It's a total meal replacement shake. And it's a bad mix. It's like a protein powder you order. You think you're going to like it because it says cookie and cream on it. You mix it a couple times and you're like, this tastes like cardboard. This is trash. It gives you the calories that you need. It's hard going down. Eventually you end up throwing the whole bottle out, but it's a meal replacement shake. I think that's the equivalent.
Catch DJ and PK mornings from 6 to 10. Presented by Murdoch Hyundai, Utah's #1 Hyundai dealer for 16 years in a row on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's time to saddle up and talk about the winners and the losers. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, here's the good.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Just past 1:30. We got the good, the bad, the ugly. Before we get to the good, caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. That'll be 801-575-ZONE. You'll be assigned a golfer in the UNA Golf Major Giveaway. Again, brought to you by UNA Golf. Lloyd, when you're caller number 12, Lloyd's going to assign you a golfer. If your golfer ends up winning the Masters, you will win the same brand of driver as that golfer. So, your chance to win. What do we do? The top 30 and then the field after that, Lloyd? Is that how we do it?
It's 1 through 26 and then the field.
All right, 1 through 26. So you're going to get 1 through 26 is up for grabs, and then after that, it'll be the entire field after that. So you're not quite sure if you want one of those top 26 golfers or if you want everybody else outside of the top 26. But
have we ever had the field win?
I think we have. Yeah, I think a couple times.
Was Danny Willett one of them?
I think so, yeah.
I don't know why that stands out to me, but I thought maybe that was the one time the field is won. Doesn't seem like it would happen often.
Yeah.
Well, what would you want? One of the top 26 or would you want the field?
Give me one of the top 26, yeah. All right, this is I put this on the good hands because I think it's a win-win for both sides on this one. Sometimes coaches just kind of overstay their welcome. And I don't care how good you are, or how many championships you won. Sometimes your message runs a little, it just doesn't have that same impact. And I think the John Calipari run in Kentucky kind of ran its course. I think the fact that players can now stick around a lot longer and make money on name, image, and likeness and collective has really hurt Kentucky because they used to get the best one-and-dones, on the planet, and nobody else could touch them in recruiting. And then they would leave and he'd get another batch and then another batch. Well, now you're getting players that are sticking around that are really good, and Kentucky's lost their edge a little bit. So there were a lot of people in Kentucky that were a little grumpy that Kentucky wasn't winning at the highest level that they were, but yet they gave him this massive contract. So if they were going to fire him, they would owe him $36 million. And there were a lot of people that wanted at Kentucky to move on from John Calipari. John knew that. And now Arkansas comes calling and saying, hey, you know what? We just lost our coach. How about you come on over here to Arkansas? And he jumps at the opportunity. So John Calipari leaves. Kentucky's off the hook. They can get a fresh start with a coach like Nate Oates at Alabama or Scott Drew from Baylor. You name it. There's a lot of good coaches out there that'll line up to take that job. Kentucky probably will be better off because I'm not a big fan of John Calipari, the coach. From an X's and O's standpoint, I don't think he's a good coach. I think he just gets really good talent. He's a great recruiter. And so Arkansas will get that. That'll revitalize that program to a certain extent. Not that they were bad, but he'll take them to another level. And then Kentucky can move on and try to go get a big fish and see if they can improve their status. So I think it's a win-win for both sides, honestly.
Yeah, not that they were bad.
No,
but there's definitely some room for improvement. I mean, we were talking about this. You go back to that 2019 season. That was big for him. He had the Elite Eight in 2017 and 2019, and he's won only one NCAA tournament game since that last 2019 run. And the tough thing is, Scotty, Kentucky fans have watched him get knocked out by 15 seed St. Peter, and they just watched him get knocked out by 14 seed Oakland. And so they're looking around at Kentucky like, this is Kentucky. We don't get beat by St. Peter's.
Yeah.
We don't get beat by Oakland. Really? We're going to get knocked out in a 14 seed Oakland? That's how we go out?
Not a great look.
And the truth is, we could see some of these blue bloods go downhill for a while.
Yeah.
We could see things level up because it's not about Kentucky. It's not about, my one and done, my opportunity to step my toe in college basketball and head to the NBA and go make money. Now it's about, all right, well, who's giving me the most money right now? It's not even about the six-figure leagues that they've got going on that we've seen some of these high school kids opt into other than a college program. Like, there's real money to be had out there. There's real seven-figure opportunities for some of these big-time recruits. And it's not about how long Calipari sits in your front yard in a car. It's not about how much he can illegally do for you and your family in navigating that crazy NCAA restrictive world. Now it's kind of all out in the open. You can bring a kid to the table and you can say, well, our boosters are just bigger than their boosters.
Yeah. Yep.
And we can just get you more collective. Well, they're only offering me this. Well, yeah, we're offering you this, and you come here and win. So I could see places like Kentucky and others leveling off for a while. But to your point, that's why, like, if you're not a believer in Calipari, and I don't know him and his depth of coaching like you do, but if you don't believe that he's the X's and O's guys, then you got to find the X and O guy.
Yeah.
You got to find a guy that can organize 5 dudes on a court, put them in the right place in the right rotations. And that's what we've seen with Danny Sprinkle, where he brought in 5 guys. We just saw it with Mark Pope, Coach Pope's name has been rolled out in this Kentucky thing a couple of times.
Yep. And that was the other thing I was going to bring up. Now, look, he'll eat, he'll probably be 5th or 6th on that list, but there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to look at their situation. Like Nate Oates is making a ton of money at Alabama, and he'll parlay this into another extension and another big race. Scott Drew's getting a lot of money at Baylor. Like, these guys are going to look at Kentucky and say, I'm going to hop into a pressure cooker there. Do I really want that for maybe not as much, I might get a little bit more money, but I got it pretty good here. He's got it, Oates has got it good at Alabama. Drew's got it good at Baylor.
Well, I'll give you an example. So Eric Musselman, he leaves Arkansas and heads to USC, and Arkansas reaches out to Chris Beard. And they're like, well, what's it going to take? And almost like, it doesn't matter what it's going to take. We're going to keep him. So then they reach out to Jerome Tang at Kansas State. And Jerome Tang's like, no, but it's Kentucky. Well, okay. Well, Kansas State's got some pageantry. Kentucky couldn't pull some of these guys away. And so it's just interesting. Guys are getting happy with their position.
Yeah.
And it feels like things are leveling out a little bit. Even though the transfer portal's a mess and collective is a mess, it is shifting what's been powerhouses. Even though I know we're watching Uconn in a 1-2 matchup against Purdue, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. All right, there's your good. Let's get to the bad.
Now the bad.
So, Scotty, we were covering that BYU-Texas game. Do you remember the big man they had, Devondre Sweat?
Yes.
Okay, so he's projected to be like the 3rd or 4th off the board in this upcoming NFL draft. Just got hit with a DUI.
Yeah, boy.
I don't know how these things or why these things continue to happen, but Devondre Sweat, 22 years old, played with Texas. He was booked into the Travis County Jail at 2:12 p.m. yesterday, charged with DUI. He was released, but Devondre Sweat, who by all accounts, the first tackle and was the real deal. Even though I still felt like we used to have this teammate in with the Colts. His last name was Skrilla, and we'd call him the one-play Skrilla or one-play Thrilla Skrilla, because there was one play he would give you the world, and you're like, oh my gosh,
from Manila.
Yeah, and Devondre Sweat is that guy. When he decides, I'm going to go this time.
Yeah.
He can own you. Now, I think an NFL team thinks we'll draft him and we could have that guy every snap. That's not how it's going to be. But I could see him being a dang it, what's his name? What's the old D tackle with the New England Patriots?
Oh, Wilfork?
Wilfork. I could see him being a Wilfork type. And Vince was...
If you get Vince Wilfork, you got yourself a hell of a player.
Right. But I do think that's kind of the vein that Devondre Sweat is through.
And Wilfork wasn't playing hard on every snap.
Nope. He would decide, and he'd say, oh, okay, it is 2nd and 8. Oh, they typically run a draw set here. So I'm going to power through this A-gap and blow the whole thing up. Well, that's Devondre Sweat. Well, I don't know what happens now. I have not seen information on the blood alcohol content, so I don't know how bad it was. I haven't heard if there was reckless driving or if there was an accident. All I know is he was arrested and charged with DUI. He was taken in. He was placed in custody. He was charged with the DUI, and he is out. That's all we know. The details will surface, and that might have some influence on what an NFL team will do.
It won't. And if
probably very unlikely.
If there's a team that's in love with him right now, it's not going to change their opinion.
Did the space mask with Tunsil, did that affect his draft stock?
No, because it came out after he was drafted.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was just before the draft.
No, I believe it was after the draft. Okay. The video came out. Okay. I might be wrong on that, but I believe, and there was a growing talk about how player or teams would stay away from players that had marijuana history, and then after a while they're like, we don't care about that anymore.
Yeah, and the league doesn't.
Yeah, and now the league definitely doesn't care about it.
No. But I do think that the league's got
they better care about this.
They've got a growing DUI issue.
Yeah.
Are we not hitting a DUI almost every day?
Sure seems like
sports in general has a growing DUI problem, with athletes in general.
Yeah,
it's a problem.
It's high. I look at this, and if my job is finding players that can help me win, and I'm like, so how many DUIs has he got? Just one. Has he got any other priors? No.
And look, if the guy becomes a superstar, teams will just have a car service for him. They're like, okay, we'll find a way to make that work.
That's the other thing. You bring him in and you just say, hey, so we're going to probably take you 3rd off the board here, 4th off the board. We're going to make sure that this never happens, right?
Yeah.
And what can we put in place to make sure it never happens?
And 3 weeks from now, they'll have the press conference. He'll be introduced as, whatever team he's at. And some reporter will how do you feel comfortable with him bringing him into the community with his, driving under the influence history? And the owner's like, and the general manager, we've done a deep dive and we vetted him as a person and as an individual. And we feel like the actions that he made that night, while reprehensible, do not represent who he is as a person overall. And the player will pipe on it I feel really horrible about that. I made a bad decision. That's not who I am. My mom and dad didn't raise me to be that person. I can vouch for that right now that will not happen again in my time here in Cleveland or Dallas or wherever he gets drafted. And then so they'll have the PR spin and they'll say all the right things, and then it gets all swept under the rug.
Yep,
that's how it goes.
And this is the way I look at it. If that dude here in a couple years goes 150 miles down a residential street and hits a woman and her dog and kills them in a burning fire, I think the person that drafted him should have some responsibility.
I agree 1,000%.
Your name and reputation should be put on the line.
Because you single-handedly brought that person into the community.
That's right.
Yep.
And that person just killed a member of the community.
All right, Hans and Scotty, let's just go ahead and go to break. What do you think, Lloyd? Go to break. Coming up next, Whole World News straight ahead, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
Do you think there would be any difficulty adding 2 more professional sports teams here locally?
Yes.
And getting the support?
Yes. Difficulty? Sure. Absolutely.
Do you think it'd be impossible?
No.
You think we could bring in 2 major franchises and have them both survive?
If the leagues individually choose Salt Lake City, it's because they're betting on our future, not the present. I think we'd sell tickets to these things right away. I think sponsorships, I'm not saying sponsorships for the Jazz are a tough sell or that they're struggling or by any means. They're hustling to find every nickel that's not nailed down. It's not like this market is just swimming in dough. But we've got some expanding economic sectors. Population is expanding here. Our education around here is pretty good. Our teachers are really good. Our universities are really good. And this is a great place to live. And so if we got 2 new Major League franchises right out of the gate, it'd be probably tough sledding for a few years. But the idea is that they're betting on the future.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Go!
It's time to span the globe for the hard-hitting news you care about. Well, not really. But hey, at least we found it interesting. This is Whole World News on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
We got the whole world in our hands.
You got the whole world in our hands.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. And make sure to join JJ and Alex Wednesday from 3 to 6 of the Dish Pros, hanging out with Ryan and the crew, 8034 South State Street in Midvale.
Well, Scotty, this is a crazy story coming out of Oroville, California. Officer Terry Dunn standing in front of a camera, and he starts the conversation. This is Terry Dunn, officer of Oroville, California Highway Patrol.
Just shock. Several other officers showed up as well, and it was kind of like one of those no one really believed it kind of thing. So several other officers did show up to the scene just to see it, in fact, that it was a 9-year-old driving the vehicle.
Officer Dunn noticed the car stopped in the middle of the intersection of 4th and Grand, which is the furthest intersection away from me. He then announced over the PA system for the car to move, to which the boy turned onto 4th Street, making his way through this intersection and then through the parking lot of the Valero gas station that I'm standing at. Now, after navigating through the gas station, he made his way through to the dirt lot over there, where he then backed into Officer Dunn's patrol car.
A few seconds later, I did notice a little head bopping inside. Unusual. I exited my patrol vehicle, made an approach, and as I was approaching, I could see a kid, which turned out to be a 9-year-old child, sticking his head out saying, "I'm sorry, I'm trying to get to school."
The boy's school was right next door.
At that point, we kind of identify who he was, if that was the school he was actually heading to. We contacted the principal, we contacted the parent, and everyone showed up to the scene.
Well, hey, at least he's trying to go to school, right?
Okay, so this is how this happened. This little boy, he missed the school bus, and he was really needing to get to school. So he got his parents' keys. He jumped in the car, and he got himself all the way to within a block of the school.
Right there. Almost made it.
Okay, how old is Xavier now, Lloyd? He's 9? Okay, I knew it. That's why I grabbed this story. What would you do? First of all, would Xavier be capable of something like this?
Oh, he'd be capable, but he wouldn't do it.
Blue Eyes would do it.
Jackie Blue, yes. Yes, he would do it.
What would you do if you got a call?
In fact, just over the weekend, Jessica gave her keys to Jackson to go grab something out of the trunk. I'm like, no, don't give him your keys. Are you nuts?
Kidding me? You're either going to have a stolen car or a key mark that goes down the length of the car. Okay, if you got a call from an officer and they're like, "Hey, we've got this young man, Xavier, here in our custody," how would you handle that?
Keep him overnight.
Keep him.
Yeah, keep him overnight.
There you go.
Hey, scared straight man. Yeah, I don't even care.
Hey, you know what? That's our generation right there. That's how our parents would have handled it.
No, you're going to sit in the clink for
keep your
overnight.
9-year-old overnight.
Hell yeah. He needs to learn.
Absolutely. Think about what you did.
I got a story to tell. Actually, David liked this story too, but I'll tell you during the break. I'm not telling this one on the air.
So you guys know I got fake arrested when I was 12 for that inappropriate phone call that I made. And
by the way, it gives me anxiety thinking about this. They just had somebody driving on the freeway just barely, like that was
12 or 13.
Yeah, it was like 12, but I'm
12
just
or
like,
13.
Jeez.
And so I got fake arrested. I think it was fake arrested. They still haven't told me if it was real or fake. I think it's fake arrested. Now I'm 12 years old, and I'm sitting in front of the Weiser sheriff with everybody in the room, and the sheriff, and I could hear, because the sheriff's office was connected to the jail system.
Yeah.
And I could hear the guys in the cells yelling, yeah. And the sheriff looked at me straight up and he goes, look, we've got some options.
Look, you're the size of these dudes. We can try you as an adult.
He said, we can either keep you here for a couple of nights, or you can become the ultimate dog poop cleanup guy. And I was like, yeah, I think I'll take the dog poop.
Yeah.
And I did clean up dog poop for the rest of my young adult life. But it scared the crap out of me, the fake arrest.
Yeah, as it should. All right, Hans and Scotty. Dave's hanging out with us from America First Credit Union. I don't know how to. Usually I can come up with a pretty good transition. I got nothing for you, Dave. So let's just talk about AFCU, man.
Well, I just love the word clink.
Yeah.
Let them stay in the clink for a day.
You know where that comes from? That's the noise that the gates make when they shut. It's that clink.
That deafening final lock.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you know where you're at. I want to talk about just my experience with America First Credit Union. I know we get into a lot of these different areas, but I want people to know how much I've enjoyed my experience with America First Credit Union and also the depth of what I do with them, because I've got multiple business accounts, LLCs that are set up that run through America First Credit Union. So I do my business banking through America First Credit Union. I've got all my personal that's all set up. I've opened up an account for each of my 4 kids at America First Credit Union. So it's pretty deep. It's pretty deep. And I know that they're there for me, and they're there in your community, and they will serve you. And that's really what it's about, Dave, is just you got to make people feel like they're part of the business.
Yeah, I love your experience, and I love your journey that you've taken over the last 14 years, where you've found value, and we've matched your desire, your need with products and services as well as service. And I think it's important to know that we're here for the consumer, but we're also here for small businesses. America First was the #1 SBA lender in the nation, the #1 credit union SBA lender in the nation. Yeah. And there's several different types of lending options, but we're here to help those small business owners. We know that small businesses create a strong community, and we love to support them.
We were talking about the mortgage lending. We talked about small business lending. I wanted to talk a little bit about the interest rate returns, because you're making a big push in helping people make their money work for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes we think about interest only in terms of paying interest, but we have a great opportunity for you right now to be able to earn interest. Whether you do that with a certificate of deposit or a dedicated savings, rates are good right now. We want to make sure that we're helping you and helping your money work for you. And so being able to put that into one of those types of accounts, you can see the interest earning. And you can put that back into your checking account. You can put it back into the certificate. But it's a great way to be able to plan for the future and save, rather than just have that money sitting in your savings account or your checking account. Put a little bit away and see how that interest can benefit you.
It's really simple. Go to americafirst.com. Again, interest rates are on everybody's mind, but it can also work in your advantage. And America First can teach you how to do that. And you can start making money on your money at America First right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
You're locked on to Hans Olsen and Scotty G. That's right. Yeah! On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, 2:09. Stewart Mandel's going to join us coming up here in about 5 minutes from right now. College football writer at The Athletic, and trying to make sense over the details and how realistic this 80-team super conference for football will look like, and kind of break it down a little bit. You and I touched on a little bit on Friday when the news started to break on this, but This is something that ultimately could, we all anticipate there's going to be something that's going to remake college football. Could this be it?
Yeah, and the thing I need to know the most about is the College Sports Tomorrow, the group.
Yeah.
The CST. I need to know more, because this is the group that's about to get their fingers on one of the most lucrative things that's unowned in the world. Think about that.
Yeah.
It's one of the most lucrative businesses in the world that is not managed or really owned. And what this College Sports Tomorrow is attempting to do is become the new NCAA for college football. And this whole thing is extremely unique because they're going to separate it from college sports, and they're going to build it into its own entity.
Yeah.
So this isn't going to be college football anymore. According to this plan, it's its own separate entity. And then they don't have to deal with all kinds of rights and issues and all kinds of things that have to be held to when you've got federal spending and enrollment issues and Title IXs and a million other things that you're dealing with in college sports. They're attempting to break away from all of that management.
Here's, and we'll have Stewart to break it down a little bit more, but here's ultimately what you're looking at, in my opinion. Number one, nothing will happen unless the SEC and the Big Ten wants to do it. So if they want to do it, then that's going to move the ball rolling. And you know what will make them want to do it is if ESPN or Fox wants that to happen. And so if the networks want it to happen, they'll tell the SEC and the Big Ten, you need to make it happen, and then it'll happen. But it's going to start with your networks, and then it's going to go to the big two conferences, and then it'll work its way to fruition. Now, that's a lot of ifs and a lot of people needing to sign off on it. If it doesn't, then it's DOA.
Yeah, if the SEC or the Big Ten is like, nah, we're not. This isn't the angle that we want to go with. It will die.
Yeah, and I guess ultimately, if Greg Sankey doesn't want it to happen, then it won't happen.
Yeah,
because that dude is probably the third most powerful man in sports right now.
But that makes you wonder, whatever his relationships are with guys like David Blitzer and others that are a part of this college sports tomorrow. It's a 20-person group, and it does got some real highfalutin, high-profile sports business types that are involved in this thing that can be extremely influential. And how are they influential? They're influential with the almighty dollar. That's what the real influence is here. And ultimately, it's how much money can we make?
Yes.
And what's the best way to make that money? Well, first and foremost, they would expand to a 16-team playoff. We're about to see the 12-team playoff. This new group would expand it to a 16-team playoff. It would have 8 groups of 10. The top 8 would get automatic bids. They would find wild cards for the remaining 8. They've worked in forms of relegation, I think, to interest people in general. Like, oh, you're saying that we can move up? Well, some of you, yes.
Yes.
Some of you, no.
And Alabama's like, you saying we can move down? No, Alabama, don't worry about it. Notre Dame, don't you worry.
Not you.
You could finish 50 out of 50 and you'd be just fine.
Not you, sweetheart. The other thing that's crazy is the fact that they're enticing Notre Dame. That's the other one. It's like, can we get Notre Dame in this whole grouping, this whole rebuild, this big business model? Is there any way that we could pull Notre Dame in? Because then it becomes worth it. So for those of you wondering, it really pertains to 70 teams primarily. Now, there are teams that can move up and down, and then there's a 10-team base that has some relegation inside of whatever it is, 50-some-odd grouping.
Yeah.
A group of 54 teams or something like that. So the haves are definitely going to get rich. They're gonna get more rich in this whole thing. But the model, I think, could make a lot of money for a lot of people.
Yes, I agree. And plus, here's the other element, too. You're essentially allowing the G5s to stick around with the hope of being promoted into the upper 80. So, you can avoid the lawsuits that could come from that group saying, oh, you've separated out. Like, no, we haven't. Look, they've got an opportunity to be a part of this. They have to invest into their programs, and if they win at a high level, then they get to join the party.
Which I don't hate, because if you're not showing importance, then you really shouldn't.
I agree. I 100% agree with that.
And there's so many schools that are going basketball heavy, and that's fine. Go basketball heavy. But then don't cry that you don't have the grip or the ability to achieve in football. It's going to force these clubs to put a lot of money into football in order to be competitive and be visible.
One of the best when it comes to breaking down college football, Stewart Mandel from The Athletic, kind enough to join us. Stewart, how are you?
Hey, Stewart.
Hey, I'm good. How are you guys?
We're good. Obviously fascinated with the idea of this 80-team Super League college football proposal. You guys broke it down in The Athletic, but I do think it's important, and I think you've reiterated this on Twitter as well, that look, nothing really happens until the SEC and the Big Ten want it to happen. And do you anticipate that they do actually want this to happen?
Yeah, I think I can't emphasize enough. This is not an imminent possibility. This group of pro sports executives mixed with college presidents are, putting this proposal together and putting it out there. And to this point, haven't gotten much traction, frankly, within, amongst the power conferences, but certainly among the SEC and Big Ten. But they're kind of waving a red flag, and we have on-the-record quotes from presidents at West Virginia and Syracuse saying, guys, we aren't going to have a choice. We're facing, we're going to have to pay the athletes. We're going to have to find a way to collectively bargain with them. We're being hit with lawsuit after lawsuit. Like, if we don't do something, the whole system's going to go bankrupt. And so if you're the SEC and Big Ten right now, like, you're the richest conferences, you got the greatest TV deals, you're not looking for help, right, from this group or, frankly, any external group. But what happens, 5 years from now, if suddenly, like Alabama, Texas, they can write a check for whatever. But if you're Vanderbilt, if you're Mississippi State, are you going to be able to afford to add extra $15 million to your athletics budget to pay your football and revenue sport athletes, or possibly all of your athletes? And what happens if some of these antitrust suits that are out there, the NCAA either loses them or they get settled, and suddenly these schools are on the hook for their share of a $1.6 billion settlement or whatever it may be. And that's where this group's coming in saying, well, we think we've got a solution.
Stewart, let's talk a little bit more in detail about this group, the College Sports Tomorrow, the CST as it's been coined. Give us a little bit more info into the brain trust, the minds behind this CST. How deep does this go?
The ringleader is Len Perna, who is the founder of this search firm Turnkey. And he has actually, and I think this is ironic given that this concept would replace a lot of the conferences in college football, but his search firm is important enough to have led the searches that put Tony Petitti in his job, that put Charlie Baker, the NCAA president, in his job, and so on and so forth. And he's kind of it's been described to us that he's kind of running the ship, but he's enlisted all these various executives. I think it's significant, for one, that, and what really stood out to us, Brian Rolap, Roger Goodell's top lieutenant, is involved in this. Now, they insist it's not the NFL itself involved, it's him personally, but hello, the NFL is meddling in some way in the structure of college football. That's a big deal. I think they see, or he sees, that this system that has been their free farm system for all these years is in trouble, and it would behoove the NFL to help stabilize it. So you've got the business side of it. Let's be clear, like private equity, there's many private equity firms that are itching to get involved in college football like they have in some of the professional leagues. So there's some ties there. And then they do have a group of university presidents that are on it. I haven't quite figured out if they're all in, if all those university presidents are kind of all in on it, or if some of them are more advisory. But the two that we talked to were, Gordon Gee at West Virginia saying, we have to do this now. You've got many of the people we talked to saying this isn't even remotely realistic until you can get through this next set of TV contracts that the conferences have already locked into the early 2030s. And he's saying, no, we can't wait that long, because if we don't do something, like I said earlier, like there's a possibility that the conferences and the NCAA could become bankrupt. I don't know if that's just, catastrophizing, going a little too far, but I know this, there's a lawsuit in Northern California, and the same judge who oversaw the O'Bannon lawsuit and the Alston lawsuit. Now there's the House lawsuit, and the plaintiffs in that are former college athletes from the era when NIL was not legal yet, saying we lost out on millions and millions of dollars in NIL revenue because of your rules, and you owe us basically back pay. So there's a lot going on, obviously, in college sports right now. They're facing that challenge. They've got active lawsuits. They've got the Dartmouth team is unionized. They've got there are other lawsuits involving employment. And I think what stands out to me about this group, maybe this idea is completely far-fetched, but at least they're trying to do something. They've come up with a proposal. Whether it's a feasible proposal, I don't know. Whereas most people in college sports for the last 3 years have been running around going, Wild Wild West is the Wild Wild West. We need guardrails. We need Congress. And nobody's actually offered a tangible, like, this is what we should do instead. And I think this, if nothing else, kickstarts that conversation.
So let's talk about the relegation element to this as well. Essentially saying that, okay, your G5s out there, they could realistically work their way into that top 80. Am I reading that right? And essentially allowing, maybe avoiding potential lawsuits from those schools saying you left us out of the party, and saying, no, you have opportunities to be a part of this if you invest in your program and win some games. Is that a correct assessment there?
There's a lot of MLS and European soccer infused into this proposal for sure. And promotion relegation obviously is something we associate with European soccer. I've thrown around, not necessarily Super League, but the term Premier League for a long time, because it seemed like that's the way college football is headed. But most people, myself, would envision that being a lot more selective. Like, we're just going to take the top 28 brands and they're going to turn themselves into a league onto their own and ditch like the bottom half of the Power Five. Whereas this group is kind of trying to figure out a way to incorporate all of FBS. Obviously, if the goal is to maximize your TV revenue, you don't have a strong incentive to include San Jose State, Fresno State, et cetera. But they've at least, created this like 8th division where those teams could play themselves into it or play themselves out of it. But there would at least be an avenue for them to be part of it and to be part of the playoff that would be part of this group. So I think that's more a egalitarian approach to it, whereas I think if the SEC and the Big Ten were to create their own vision of this, and we think they will, it would be a much smaller group of schools.
So, Stewart, in the delivery of this new grouping and this new business formation and what they're trying to plan to do with college football, how much interest has it generated from the ESPN and the Foxes and the sports providers of the world? How intrigued or interested? How much money? Or is there any interest from them?
I would say from the TV network side, there's not interest because it's not in their best interest. It's in their best interest to keep the conferences for the most part the way they are now, keep the contracts that they've already negotiated at a certain rate, rather than blow them up and replace them with something where they would have less leverage. The thinking that this group has is, you're basically, it's the NFL model. The NFL, the entire TV rights for the NFL comes up once every 6 or 7 years, and that's your only chance to get part of the NFL TV rights. I've always been told by TV people that college football, and look, the Big Ten deal is worth over $1 billion a year, so it's not like they're going poor. But they're actually leaving a lot of dollars on the table because it's negotiated conference by conference instead of as one entity. So the group that's behind this would say, guys, we'll generate a lot more revenue if we all come together and we're one league, and that's, ESPN, Fox, CBS, they have to negotiate, they have to bid on that. Obviously, ESPN, Fox, and CBS are saying, no, we're going to keep it the way it is, and we have a contract, and you guys are obligated to the contract. This group did not really give any sort of concrete explanation of how they would plan to unwind all of those television contracts. And so it may be that this isn't realistic until like the Big Ten deal, the Big 12, some of these deals start coming up, which would be around 2032.
Well, Stewart, we appreciate your time, man. Thanks for hanging out with us. Fascinating development. Personally, I hope it happens. I just want to see some kind of structure in some way, shape, or form and get us out of this old Wild West that we're all complaining about and actually put a system in place to try to fix it. But again, The Athletic, you guys are killing it as always. Appreciate your time, and let's do it again here soon.
Great write-up.
All right. Thanks for having me.
There he is. Stewart Mandel right here on 97.5, the EKSL Sports Zone.
The Athletic did a really good job of just breaking it down, and there's just a little further, more information, a little more detail. And as he mentioned right there, he said, these providers want it to stay as it is.
Yeah.
Then there's a good chance it will. Those are just the hard facts. The people that bring the money to the table are typically the most influential.
Uconn and Purdue coming up tonight. Uconn has only lost 3 games this year. One of the teams they lost to was Creighton. And a member of that Creighton team is going to join us next. Steven Ashworth will join us coming up next right here on 97.5, the EKSL Sports Zone. Dave's with us from America First Credit Union. Dave, always good to chat with you. Always fun hanging out with you. But look, you've got our listeners in mind. You want to get them squared away and you want to get them taken care of.
Absolutely. We love coming on the show, and we love the support that we get from 1280 and you two specifically. And I'm just going to put my pick in there, Uconn.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think it's probably pretty safe.
I hope so.
Right, I'm just hoping for a good game, but I think it's probably pretty safe. Hey, I wanted to talk about this. America First is celebrating National Financial Literacy Month. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we feel like we have an obligation to not only provide good financial products and services, but also education. And the education, you're never too early to start. And so we think that if we can get into either kindergarten, first grade, second, all the way up through 12th grade, we can help educate these kids. And we have a program called Fundamentals. And it's a fun way where we can be able to teach these kids how to learn about money, how to learn about interest, how to learn about saving, how to even start your own business, even owning your own pet. There's over 50 different topics that we have that can help either parents or teachers. Teachers can connect with us and request, to download that information and content, or we have representatives that will go into the schools and teach those lessons as well. They're great for adults and kids alike. We all need to learn how to better use our money, and what better way to do it than in a fun way.
And that is the truth. Money management is so critical, yet it's not something that I remember being overly taught growing up in the school systems.
Mm-hmm. I remember when I got married, I had a buddy whose wife didn't really understand finances, and she goes, well, we still have checks in the checkbook. And he's like, honey, hang on a second. Just because there's checks doesn't mean you can write those. And she's like, why? There's still checks. And he's like, but there's no money. So
not really how that works.
Yeah. So it's just important, to learn about credit, learn about saving, learn about investments, learn about just managing your funds and saving for the future. Great opportunity for us to focus on that.
This is just another thing that America First Credit Union does to give back. And I've, over the whatever year or so, 2 years that we've been together on air, I've seen you guys in so many different lights, whether it's putting together food drives or bringing together RSL and a shoe drive to get shoes for kids that can't afford them, or, educating kids and helping in that education. It's like just one thing after the other. America First Credit Union is giving back. I want people to understand what type of member they are of our community.
They're important. Our members, everything that we do is for them. Our focus is on our membership. And, we talked a little bit about, what's the difference earlier. We talked about what's the difference between us and maybe other financial institutions. There's a difference between banks and credit unions. And our difference is that we put our members first. And so within that, we have community first, we have service first, we have education first, kids first. We want to make sure that our youth, our rising generation, has the skills, has the opportunities, has the resources to make a better life for themselves. And investing in the future is very wise, and we want to be a part of that.
All you have to do is go to AmericaFirst.com. Let's get you going, AmericaFirst.com. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
I wish the season was more enjoyable for Jazz fans. All I see on Twitter is how miserable this is. Worst stretch for the Jazz in basically 50 years. It's as bad a basketball as I've ever seen in my life watching the Jazz. It's a low, and again, it's with a purpose, but this has been as unenjoyable of a basketball season as there's been in Utah, maybe ever.
When fans say that, it sounds like they're blaming the team. They didn't create the system. It doesn't behoove them to win basketball games. The Jazz didn't create the NBA system where it's actually an advantage to lose. What's the criticism? Because the criticism at halfway point is, it's in your best interest to suck, right? What are you doing? And then they suck. And now people are going like, well, how dare you suck this bad? What are you talking about? Is it in their best interest to suck or not?
It is.
And that's not their fault. That's the NBA's fault.
That is the NBA's fault.
If you don't like it, then stop watching the NBA. I don't buy into that. I feel bad for Jazz fans. This is the sport. This is what comes along with it.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. Looking for the latest on the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, and Aggies? Yeah! We've got you covered. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5 The Sports Zone.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Excited to chat with our next guest, Steven Ashworth, member of that Creighton Blue Jay basketball team, the last team to beat Uconn, who plays for a national championship coming up tonight. He'll join us coming up here in just a moment. But caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. You'll be assigned a golfer in the UNA Golf Major Golf Giveaway. If your player wins, and Lloyd, it will give you a golfer when you're caller number 12. If your golfer wins the Masters, then you will win the same brand of driver as that golfer. So it's really simple. Caller number 12, 801-575-ZONE, and Lloyd will randomly assign you a golfer, and you're going to want that guy to win. We'll assign, we go by the World Golf Rankings. We hand out 26 golfers, and then somebody else will get the field after that. So it's real simple. Caller number 12, 801-575-ZONE. Well, the last time Uconn tasted a loss, it was the Creighton Blue Jays, and Creighton ran them out of the building, 85-66. The leading scorer for Creighton in that game was none other than Steven Ashworth, who had 20 points in that game, and Steven joins us now. You miss chatting with me, Steven. Be honest. You miss these conversations. How are you, man?
Absolutely, I miss them. I'm doing well, though, but it's good to hear your voice for sure.
That's great to have you on, Steven. We've missed you around these parts. I mean, you've been doing some great things, but we certainly miss you out here, and it's great that you could jump on for a few minutes and talk about handing what seems to be an invincible team a pretty big loss. Just take us back to that game and what you did specifically in that game.
Yeah, I mean, it was months ago at this point, but it was definitely a super fun atmosphere, a great game at home. And I think heading into that game, we knew that personally we at Creighton matched up really well with the personnel that they had. And if we executed the game plan, we would have a chance. And that's what you hope for with great teams, is that you're giving yourself a chance. And we felt like when we went to their place and played, in Gamble Pavilion, we didn't really give ourselves a chance. We had too many turnovers, too many offensive rebounds. And so when we got them at our place, I think that those are some of the things that we controlled. And then it always helps to shoot a good percentage behind the three-point line.
Well, you certainly did that in that game, but what is it about UConn that makes this team so special? I mean, you've seen them up close and in person several times, so, I mean, they're a juggernaut right now. Nobody's really coming close to them. What is it about this team that is making them so dynamic?
Yeah, I mean, they're really motivated. I think that you've seen it from whether it's social media posts or other things that they use a lot of what is said about them or about their opponents to their advantage, and that's the kind of motivation tactics they have. And so when they come out into a game, you notice it, that they have a chip on their shoulder, even though they might have been the number one ranked team in the country. They play a lot of the games like they're the underdog, and I think that's a great attribute of their team and their personnel that they have, that is able to have that mindset when you've had such a dominant performance time and time again. And so they're really good at that, just the mindset of the game. And then you got to give them credit to the fact that they're a physical and athletic team that can make a lot of plays on both ends of the floor, whether it's blocking shots at the rim with Klingen or deflecting passes out on the perimeter with Newton and Castle, and then getting out in transition. And it's a really complete ball club. And, I think we had a very complete ball club at Creighton too. And that's why we were able to give them their most recent loss, which was all the way in January.
So, Steven, when you guys make a nice run, beat Akron, you beat Oregon, and find Tennessee, very tough Tennessee team, and bumped out of the tournament, are you the kind of guy that stays focused and laser locked and likes to watch the tournament through, or do you disconnect and cut out?
Yeah, I mean, personally for me, I just love watching basketball. So I'm always interested in the games that are happening, and I mean, I don't have a preference on who wins it now, obviously, because I was hoping to win it. But now that there's no chance at that, it's just fun. It's entertainment for me. It's learning for me. I always like watching different schemes, and then obviously knowing the Uconn scouting report, I'm watching all the plays they're running and seeing how teams are defending them, and maybe making some mental notes of how I would guard it differently if I was in the game. But it's fun for me. I keep watching, and I enjoy the tournament. I think it's the best thing we have in sports. So although it's disappointing that we're not playing today, it's still fun to watch.
Well, I saw a good dose of Zach Edey in person, and that dude is just a monster to watch play live, and is just a man among boys. But you've seen Klingon as well, and obviously this is going to be the biggest test that Edey has seen so far in the tournament. How do you see that matchup going?
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating one. I felt like a lot of people were reaching out to me to ask about what the DJ Burns and Zach Edey matchup would be like, and my personal opinion of that was that basically, and I think that Klingon's got a different set of skills on the defensive end that will put Edey in some different positions, and so I'm really looking forward to seeing the matchup of that, and just also seeing the scheme and the game plan of, is Uconn going to double, or are they going to swarm the different coverages that they could put on Edey? Because one-on-one with anybody, I think that there's going to be a hard time stopping them. But if anybody's got a chance, I'd say number one in the country is my man Ryan Kalkbrenner, and the number two option is Klingon. And so I think it'll be a really good matchup for him. And if they can guard him one-on-one with Klingon, I think that it'll take a lot of three-point jump shots away, which I think, Scotty G, as you saw firsthand, with having to double-team him, how easy he can just pass it back out. So it'll be interesting. But that's what I kind of think, is that if they can guard him one-on-one, I think it's to UConn's advantage. If they have to double, then I think that Edey's going to have a lot of opportunities to score and to then play make for his teammates.
Hey, Steven, I wanted to go back just a little bit, and where you've now moved and been a part of that Creighton team and got out of the state of Utah for a bit. When you think back to your time at Lone Peak and your development at prep school here in Utah and what you've learned and then what you've seen out of the state of Utah, how much did Lone Peak or how much did high school basketball here in the state prepare you for what you would see in comparatively to maybe what you've seen as you've grown a little bit?
Yeah, that's a great question. I personally think that Lone Peak was the best opportunity for me to prepare, and I felt like I played in a lot of meaningful games throughout my high school career, which has prepared me for the big stage that I'm now on at Creighton. And it allows me to reference back to those moments. But then also we went to Geico Nationals. We played in the Hoop Hall Classic, some of those invitational tournaments as a public high school, and got to play against the guys like RJ Barrett and all those, number one draft pick type of guys. And so now coming to a place like Creighton, I think it's prepared me well to be able to match up against those guys that are maybe more physical, more athletic, and then also continue to just hone in and develop the skill set that I've developed over the years throughout high school and into college that have made me the player that I am. And so I think that throughout prep school, it's given me that confidence, if nothing else, that I've done it before, that I've been here before, and that I can keep doing it. And I think that I saw that as the season went on and the season got deeper, I felt like I got even more and more confident and comfortable in my situation and role that I was in.
So talk about your year at Creighton. Obviously, it's an adjustment. It's a new place, new teammates, new coaching staff, everything that came along with it. How do you feel like it went? Because it felt like as the season went on, you just, the numbers just got better and better as it seemed like you got more comfortable with your surroundings.
Yeah, I definitely think you can look at it from the outside perspective and see pretty clearly how the evolution and the development of my game individually started to flourish at Creighton and under the tutelage of Coach McDermott and a lot of other coaches and support staff, and then my teammates that I'm around on a daily basis. And that was the thing of why Creighton was so appealing, is that obviously I had been through a lot of different head coaches in my time at Utah State, and the stability that I wanted just wasn't quite there. And unfortunately, we saw it again this year with the Aggies, having another new coaching change, and that's kind of the way that college basketball is at the moment. But to be able to go to a place where Coach McDermott had been there for a lot of years, had established the culture, and I understood exactly what I was getting into. I felt like there were some times early on where it was, a little bit harder than I thought to transfer, to adjust to a new offense, a new scheme, even though I felt like I had kind of already transferred within Utah State's program once or twice with different coaches that I was playing under. But just the familiarity of my role changing from being a guy that had been a consistent player at Utah State to then being the new guy was something that I had to kind of navigate. And I think that as the season prolonged, and for anybody. I think if you look at any transfer situation, the player's second year as the transfer at that school is much better than their first. Guys like Mark Sears, like Baylor Shire, like you see it as the year goes on. Dalton Connect was an example of the contrary. He just flourished in his first year. And so sometimes it is that way, and then sometimes it takes a little time to develop. But I was really proud of the way that I was able to navigate the transfer process, and I'm really looking forward to this next season, wherever it takes me. And the decisions haven't quite been made on whether to go through the draft process and just get some assessments and see where I'm at or not. But just looking forward to the next season.
Well, that was my next question, Steven, because you came back from a mission. You
have your COVID year, right?
You've got
I do. Yeah, so I have another year of eligibility left in the tank. And so obviously I've already seen all the memes of how I'm being recruited by Liberty Mutual and other insurance programs. But at the moment, I'm still focused on getting some playing time. So still playing on the court. So we'll see what happens.
That's got to be a difficult decision. I played in college in a time of non-NIL, non-collective, non-money making. So it was easy when eligibility was there. It was like, no, you go to the league and go to make money. But now there's money to be had out there, Steven. How much does that sway people's decisions nowadays in college sports? And how much do you think that's changing a team's ability to stay unified and kind of spend more time together?
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic that we have going on in college sports, and I think I probably have more opinions about it than most just because I'm in the thick of it. I'm studying business in school, and so I understand a lot of the logistical measures about what's going on financially, but it's a really different landscape, and I think it's great for the college game. I think the college basketball level is increasing. I think you could look across the country this year and see so many talented teams across the board. And a lot of it is because there was once guys that were probably taking a chance to go to the league that are now coming back because they can basically have a guaranteed contract in their NIL and with their collective, as opposed to maybe taking a risk and only getting something like a G League contract or a two-way contract in the NBA. And so it kind of gives that safety net for a lot of these players that can go and test the waters and then come back and basically know exactly what they're getting themselves into with a coaching staff that they're familiar with. And so I think it's beneficial to the game. I do think there's a lot of things that will need to be changed because the NCAA has just shifted the pressure of paying athletes to the donors instead of themselves, which I think is wrong. But that's gonna eventually change as well. You don't get to host $1 billion tournament and not pay the athletes for it. Eventually that's going to change. So, but then again, I think it's the most important thing in college athletics right now because you see coaches taking pay cuts to go to programs that have bigger NIL pools because they understand that the NIL is what's going to get them the athletes and eventually help them win. And so, I think you see what happened with Coach Calipari to Arkansas. That's an interesting move to some, but if you understand the NIL landscape, it's a very easy thing to figure out. So it's fascinating, but I think that it's good for the athletes, and I think that ultimately the level of play is increasing because talented guys are staying more and more years.
Steven Ashworth joining us right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. As you can tell, Steven's got a career in the media once he hangs up the sneakers, but he's also smart enough to know that that's not a really good business move for him personally. So that being said, Steven, I want you to put the media hat on, pretend like you're one of us dopey talking heads, and break down tonight's game. How do you see it playing out? And if you're comfortable putting on the looking into the crystal ball, how do you think it plays out?
Yeah, I don't know if this is going to circle back and give any team motivation or whatever that I'm talking about. I don't think there's enough publicity on this single moment, but I'd probably say that Klingen's going to do a pretty good job solidifying his opportunity to take Edey one-on-one, which will give obviously some buckets to Edey in the paint, but at the same time allow the perimeter defenders to stay true to their mans. And I think that that's going to really slow down Purdue's offensive firepower. And then on the defensive end, I think that Uconn has many weapons that Purdue might struggle to guard with some of their perimeter defenders. And so I can see it in the first half, really kind of the teams feeling each other out. might be struggling shooting percentage just because guys are going to be able to stay back to their mans without giving wide open 3-point attempts. And so I'd probably say in the first half, expect probably 5 to 7 point game with UConn up maybe 35, 28, and then maybe pulling away. But at the end, I'd probably say UConn by 10 tonight.
There he is.
Don't hate it, man. It's a good breakdown. That's going to be a fun big man matchup, though. I know that.
Hey, by the way,
it definitely will.
Guess who's going to be welcome to the fatherhood club here pretty soon?
Oh no,
Steven! Congratulations, man.
Good for you, bud.
Thank you. Yep, I can't wait. Peyton and I are super excited. We got a baby boy coming in June, and we can't wait.
Well, that
great timing for us as a family, so it's awesome.
That collective has never been more important.
So here's the first
exactly right.
Here's a new commercial. Hey, I'm Steven Ashworth, and when I needed a crib, I went to blah blah blah. Like you see, that's an untapped market, like for athletes.
It really is.
So there you go.
Yeah, there's not and especially in Omaha, I'm sure there's not a lot of student athletes that are talking about cribs and rocking chairs and what type of vehicle they trust their newborn to be driving.
When we got our first minivan.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Well, the other thing.
Trust Chrysler. Just kidding.
The other thing, I don't know how many athletes out there are influenced by the type of insurance that's offered. It's like, I think I'll stay. What does your birthing plan look like?
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be fun. I think the NIL opportunities are going to be coming in for Peyton and our son more than they are for me this next year, which I'm not complaining about.
No, sir.
It'll be fun.
Hey, you're the best, man. Tell the family hi. It's been a while since I've chatted with your parents, but tell them hi for me, and let's catch up soon.
Absolutely. Well, great to hear from you guys, and thanks for having me on. I'll talk to you soon.
You got it. Steven. Steven Ashworth right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hey. We got some news on the NHL front. Gather around the radio, folks. We'll get to that next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is DJ and PK.
Time to welcome Steve Cleveland back to the show.
Follow my storyline a little bit here. So Mark Pope gets a Kentucky job, which leaves the BYU job open. Are we going to see the return of Steve Cleveland to Provo, Utah?
That's probably not happening. But just talking about Mark and that circumstances, I can't even imagine. I would be shocked if he left after all that he's done and where they're at, what's happening. Would that be a great opportunity for Mark? Yes, absolutely. You have resources that are unimaginable. You've also got an entire team back that has a chance to do something special again next year. If Jackson Robinson stays, they're going to be picked in the top 3 or 4 in the Big 12 next year, probably. From a selfish point of view, I hope he stays because I think they've got something really special going on at BYU, but that's his choice, and we'll hear more about it, I guess, if it happens.
Catch DJ and PK mornings from 6 to 10. Presented by Murdoch Hyundai, Utah's #1 Hyundai dealer for 16 years in a row on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
#1.
Miss any part of the show? Every moment of every show is available in podcast form by searching Hans and Scotty on your favorite podcasting platform or online at KSLSports.com. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Standing here beside you, want so much to give you this love in my heart that I'm feeling for you.
Let them see we're crazy. I don't care about that.
All right, before we wrap up, a little bit of development on the NHL news in regards to the Coyotes and potentially coming to Salt Lake City. So last week, of course, we had our guy come on from Arizona Sports who said, hey, look, we know that they're bidding on this land. We know that they hope to get that land in Scottsdale. So much so that the Coyotes released all the, renderings of the arena, what it'll look like, all the glitz and glamour, and made it look all sexy and everything. And like, this is what we're going to build. We just need to win this land, blah, blah, blah. Well, apparently nobody ran that by Scottsdale, the city of Scottsdale, and the mayor of Scottsdale, who just released this statement, Mayor Ortega, who now strongly opposes the Coyotes' proposed new arena location. Here's her quote in the statement. The proposed Phoenix version bordering on Scottsdale was presented without mention of market demand for a new entertainment venue disguised as a hockey arena, or congested highway access, or questionable arena zoning entitlement. The prospect of a rookie developer attempting to buy Arizona State Trust land with absolutely no infrastructure on the Phoenix side of the 101 Scottsdale Road intersection at the doorstep of Scottsdale is not feasible or welcome. As it stands today, this fantasy hockey project must move west away from Scottsdale.
That's venomous.
And you thought the Vegas mayor didn't want the A's? Holy smokes.
This is venomous, and this feels a little bit more unified than just a rogue mayor saying, well, then they can just go where they were. Hey, this feels more organized.
Folks, I'm telling you, get ready.
Yeah, it's coming.
Get ready.
The other news that is kind of breaking is more accurate numbers coming out of last night's game. It averaged 18.7 million viewers. Iowa, South Carolina, 18.7 million viewers. It peaked at 24 million viewers. That is...
Woo. 24 million on the peak. Imagine had that game been really close down the stretch.
Oh, it would have been insane. So, just so everybody's aware, that beats any women's college basketball game ever, every 23 NBA Finals game, every 23 World Series game, the 23 Orange Bowl, the Big Ten Championship, the Cotton Bowl, the Pac-12 Championship, the Big 12 Championship, ACC Championship, the Masters Final Round.
Wow.
Last year. It beat the Daytona 500, the Peach Bowl, the Indianapolis 500. It beat pretty much everything but the Super Bowl. It knocked the Bachelorette out.
But not the Bachelor. All right.
Not the Bachelor.
That voice you're in the background, that's Dave joining us from America First as we wrap up the show. Dave, it's always a pleasure, man, hanging out with you. Thanks so much. And we can't thank you personally, but also America First for being a part of the radio station, but part of so many great communities. And you can't really go to a sporting event without seeing that America First logo.
Yeah, we love to be here for your listeners. We love to be here for families and the communities and sports fans alike. It's great to be a part of such a wonderful organization that knows how to give back and support.
Well, it's fun to have you on air, too, because you've got that sports sense, but you still love America First Credit Union. I can see that it goes really deep for you. This is a lot deeper than just a job for you.
It is, yeah. I've been there for 25 years, and I've just seen the good stuff that America First does for people, the partnerships, the lives that it benefits, the people who are able to fulfill their dreams of getting into a home or getting their car or, finishing their house with a home equity loan or, whatever. It's fun to just see neighbors and friends that just say, oh, I want to tell you how great of an organization that is. They treated me really well, and we learn along the way. We want to expand our service and enhance our ability to meet the needs of our members.
Go to AmericaFirst.com. And again, so many great opportunities for you at AmericaFirst.com. You guys are great. Thanks so much. And let's do it again here soon, all right?
Hey, we love being with you guys.
Hey, and thanks for the elk meat. Scotty and I are going to love this.
Yes, sir.
Excited to try this out.
There's a little side benefit when Dave comes in.
Yeah, we love when Dave comes.
Oh, for crying out loud. Stevenson Sylvester's out there with no sleeves on. I guess if you got it, flaunt it, but holy smokes.
Well, if you make it look good.
I know, and he does. Hans and Scotty, Stevenson Sylvester filling in for JJ. JJ and Alex next, 97.5. Or filling in for Alex Curry. JJ and Alex coming up next, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.